I have created so many interesting characters in the Souls series over the years, such as the Peach, the Neck Reacher, and now, as many of you have seen as of lately, Cursebro, who braved the odds of Dark Souls 3 and then got sent back in time to link the fire of Lordran in Dark Souls 1. After Dark Souls 1 was complete, the only logical place for him to appear next is Dark Souls 2, a game that some say is harder because of things like the adaptability stat or too many bosses and enemies. Well, along with all those shenanigans, he has remained cursed from birth with the symbol of avarice stuck to his head, and in Drang Lake, the land of Dark Souls 2, he also suffers the ultimate hollowing, meaning he literally is at half health the entire game. Furthermore, to fulfill his final mission, he'll have to beat every boss in the entire game without leveling health whatsoever, or equip load stat, meaning the weight he carries on his shoulders and fragility are quite literally peaking. Will Cursebro make it? Let's find out. But before we jump in, make sure you're subscribed and notified for future videos. Oh, also, by the way, I didn't kill gargoyles because I forgot and they actually suck. So just letting you know that ahead of time. Enjoy. You know what? It's good to see things are normal in Things Betwixt once again. No randomization this time, but we do have Cursebro back. An exciting time. So right away, I think the class that makes the most sense is Deprived, since it has 6 in every stat, which is just basically you're screwed from the beginning. It doesn't even start with a weapon of any sort. And then for the starting gift, Nothing also matches the theme. But I think we do want to make him look a little bit special. And randomization in Dark Souls 2 in particular is just super suspect. I don't actually even know what we just made here. It's kind of like, imagine Darth Maul. He just, he lost the battle like he did in the movie and everything, but he came back for a small amount of time at the end of the movie as a bonus scene, and his face was just ungodly. I don't even know what happened to the rest of the body either, but we're gonna go with this creation. And yeah, that's the build setup for Cursebro in Drang Lake. So before we say bye to Grandma and the Soup Squad, just make sure we check the room for any suspicious anomalies. And I think right away, getting this torch behind the carriage makes sense. We're gonna need some torch time for various things later. And yeah, just punch the carriage, that's it. Pretty simple. So immediately within Things Betwixt, we can get the dagger. Since we didn't start with a weapon, that's perfect. And no, we don't have any Homeward Bones. We literally have just been playing for 2 seconds. So Dark Sign it is, since there's no souls on the character. Right away, making it to Majula. First bonfire is always a priority. God, we look weird in the sun. What is that color, man? And yeah, so Cursebro, like I said in the beginning, has to be cursed. And there's nothing more cursed than being fully hollowed, so let's just kill ourselves so many times the health goes down to half of the total bar. And I'm gonna retrieve my soul. I'm not an absolute savage. So you might wonder, well, how do we get the symbol of avarice? We're not gonna start off with it. The tool that I'm using requires an item to be traded. It can't just drop the symbol of avarice easily. It was kind of being buggy when I did that. So I'm gonna drop this soul that I picked up over by the blacksmith shop, and what do you know, it turned into symbol of avarice. Pretty simple. I could show you guys the back end of how that works, but it's very easy. It just swaps any current item the game is highlighting. Estus Flask from Emerald Herald is the next thing that we need to get, and now we're getting set up slowly but surely. Homeward Bones by the Champion's Monument, of course, and instead of going and looting everything else in Majula, I'm off to the races. Gonna pull that chain and get right to, as I've been corrected recently, Hade's Tower of Flame, not Hyde's Tower of Flame. But something weird happens though. The symbol of avarice breaks. Why is that exactly? That's not something I've seen before playing the game. And this is going to be explained a little bit later, so we'll just leave it for now. I double checked by sitting down at the bonfire twice. Anyways, let's go to Dragon Rider in the meantime and forget about that. At least we got the symbol of avarice. The health is ticking, the clock is on. And as you might remember from previous adventures, we can't really see much because his head's blocking the screen. So I roughly estimated 6.5 steps for Dragon Rider as he falls to his demise. We got to celebrate with a little bit of a tongue spin, because the physics are back in this and we can actually have a floppy tongue. As I contemplate my method for killing this lady over by the bonfire, I just jump right into it, punching her off a ledge, but that doesn't break her legs, unfortunately, so now we got to be stealthy and pull a Sam Fisher while I just sit here and lick the wall suspiciously. Oh, there she comes. See ya. All right, she's gone. And we get a little bit of souls for killing Lycia. It also prevents her from invading later, but most importantly, the Rotunda Lockstone, which is a key item that we're going to need to use the Rotunda. So on the way down to No Man's Wharf following Dragon Rider, I was thinking about popping Dragon Rider Soul, but I was like, you know what? Let's save every single boss soul that we pick up in this entire playthrough, other than the ones that we've duplicated by going and using Bonfire Ascetics and challenging them a second time. So if I accumulate multiples of one soul that aren't actual separate enemies, then I can pop those. Now we're back to Majula looting some more stuff, and what do you know? You might have seen right there that the Estus Shard we picked up did not exactly say Estus Shard. I wonder why. I'll explain that soon too, but for now, buying some skulls and bones from Shalquire as we raid Malin's merchant shop for his chest, and what do you know again? Look at this item when it pops up. It's also not the Titanite Shard that's normally there, so the game's doing something weird. You might have caught it, but again, I'll explain it once the major revealing of the events that have happened recently happens, which is right around now. I'm actually noticing Symbol of Avarice is in my inventory 4 times, and there it breaks again sitting down at the bonfire. So what's been happening is the tool that I was using to actually spawn in the Symbol of Avarice and place the soul is replacing every current item the game's highlighting each time I get a new item. From different means. So I actually dropped all those Symbol of Avarices, including the original one I have on my head as well. And what I'm gonna do is actually just trade a headpiece, which is the imported hood that I start with for the Symbol of Avarice, meaning that when I sit down at the bonfire, it won't break. The durability won't glitch out because it's actually a proportionate item, which is a headpiece. And then from there, I'm actually gonna close the software so no items get switched. Furthermore, I'm not going to actually drop back the Titanite Shard or the Estus Shard that I got previously because it was my mistake. I think it makes Cursebro run even more cursed. And for now, we're off to bigger and better things in Forest and Fallen Giants. So we're going to pick up the Rusted Coin from our cousin Murphy, the chest that had no body, just roaming around here in the corridors. And as I do a dagger dance to wait for the door to open, I'm contemplating how many more relatives I'm going to run into that look like us. So Melentia over here, her bonfire is pretty important. She's also going to give us some items. Right away, the most important thing would be Leningrass key to actually open up the blacksmith. And we're going to buy some fire bombs because I actually want to take another crack at embarrassing myself doing the shortcut exploding the wall over here. This wall I haven't been able to blow up. Sorry, I can't even speak. Haven't been able to blow up in a long time, just like I can't English. But this time, things went a little bit differently. I failed on attempt number 1. Then I go into the corner here. And it works, but I still died. Yeah, that's... I mean, like, we at least have the shortcut. So now I'm going to forget about that, blow up this entire courtyard of barrels to make myself feel a little bit better, pick up some pants, even though we're not going to wear them, and then go to Last Giant. For the fights in this run, it's pretty standard if you've watched quite a few of the videos recently. I am going to leave every single fight unedited unless it's something that I've gone back to and done more than one time. That doesn't count deaths. So essentially... yes, a death might just be a short clip of how I died, but when it comes down to actually attempting the full boss, every single first time I fight the boss and win, that is going to be full. Anytime I use a bonfire ascetic and go back just to farm souls, will make it a little bit less painstaking. But for Last Giant, biggest thing we can do with the dagger is just slice his ankles to infinity. It's pretty easy to actually get him to do the swipe in front of him if you go outwards from when he does his previous attack. And you'll leave him usually lingering in either a foot stomp or a consecutive swipe from the first one. You don't want to actually be hit from the inside of his feet, standing too close to the center, and everything else is pretty simple from there. So we're just going to keep repeating that until he has his arm broken off, and then just try to get him to keep swinging from the front until we win. You might also notice too, so far, even though the health is ticking down, I haven't wasted any life gems that are excessive in this fight, or even before that, really. I'm trying to save them all up because the budgeting for everything is going to be harder, being that I'm not going to be using the bonfire ascetics to farm right now, so I can boost myself into the late game that's mandatory early. We're going to be doing every single Great Soul, every boss in the game, and I'm not popping boss souls, so there's a huge amount of residual points essentially that I could use to level or buy more life gems that I have no access to at all. Usually I would pop every boss soul. That would give us hundreds of thousands, if not, I don't even know, maybe more than that eventually if you collected enough repeats of their souls along with the ascetics. And goodbye, Last Giant and those beautiful ankles. I won't miss you, but I'll probably see you again in the future as Giant Lord, which is actually kind of in the past, so. Goddamn time traveler. Also, this guy with the S-Stock, I should have killed him. Unfortunately, I tried to homeward bone and he got me. You know, I'm not going to let that slide, but he seems to not even really care. He's looking at the ceiling. I think his neck is just like needing a little bit of an adjustment. We got to call a chiropractor for that guy. That was weird. He's just like, I'm looking at the ceiling. Well, we're going to respawn over here and in fact go get revenge. So next up on the list, kill the S-Dot guy immediately. How dare you try to do that to me? And he still almost gets me with an instant swing. This game's going to have a lot of situations where I'm attacking something and I get a trade, but it doesn't even look like a full animation comes out of them. So with Melentia, we're going to get that Fragrant Branch of Yore for 12,000. We're going to get some more life gems, and that's going to send the budget over the edge that meets the requirement for her to give us Silver Serpent +1. Unfortunately, even though I have Silver Serpent +1, the Royal Soldiers don't want to let me in the Pursuer Fog Gate. So we got to bob and weave and almost just get all of the hairs on our cursed pruny back taken off by that arrow right before we get in there. Pursuer's pretty basic. No dagger action on this one. We just roll, make him miss his swing, and then we're going to use the Ballista to kill him with the rest of our actual timing here. And with Silver Serpent +1, that's going to give us a bit of a bonus for the beginning. Symbol of Avarice helps too, but anyways, we got 21,000 to start off, and now we're basically building up the budget and unlocking all the essential stuff for the next blacksmith to get the build started. So in these chests, Dull Ember is going to be great for Macduff. And then, of course, we got to say hi to Sandra. You know, Sandra and I guess it would be Anthony is the first chest right there. I don't like to say Anthony in front of Sandra's name because they're estranged, but for some reason, the gods of Dark Souls put them beside each other. And it's kind of like an awkward family reunion every time I get to the chests. There's Antonio over there, actually. He's pretty cool, too. He's a cousin. He's going to give us the original Silver Serpent ring and some other stuff. But this Pursuer, if you didn't know, you can go to the slanted wall in the corner and despawn him every time. But even if he were to attack you, let's say that you made him chase you to the corner and he's still swinging as you reach there, he'll actually just despawn in the next second. So that's always a safe zone no matter what the timing is, bar none, just because it's an actual hard boundary that the game triggers him to despawn in. So we're getting some more items over here, and then we're just going to homeward bone back instead of wasting time going through the room with the dogs over to where we got the mummy trying to get us while we're having another family reunion. And I'm trying to get him to do the fireballs so he can waste some time and then we can grab the item, but that does not go too well. Round 2. Chooses fireball again. That's kind of rare, man. This is like when you're playing Pokemon and there's no critical hits and you're actually at the Elite Four with underleveled Pokemon somehow surviving. What a lucky chance. And hopefully I don't get a fireball through the floor like I did in the last run. So large Titanite through the window, and then you might notice too, the weapon we have is probably not that suitable for killing any of these guys. I'm just speedrunning this whole area. The plan was actually to use the residual firebombs in the worst case scenario that the barrel doesn't blow up on the wall and blow it up myself. But something really interesting happens there though. So after I grab the gold pine resin and we try to push the barrel to the bottom, it's just completely different than what I expected, but we make do. Barrel goes off to the left, it hits the wall, not enough impact to blow up. I'm trying to get the firebombs together, and I'm just struggling here. And then I'm like, you know what? Let's try to get the mummy to blow it up. Every single person dies, except for him. He's an action hero. I mean, we have to run back pretty far, but I'll cut that out for your you know, leisure. And at least the wall's blown up. These guys aren't related to me, but we're just gonna steal their contents and, you know, just say hi. It's kind of like when you're a curse bro and you got the hard metal chest head and then you see wooden chest, it's like colleagues at the office. They're not quite family. They're not even your friends. They're more so acquaintances. But of course, sometimes they'll buy you coffee. Now we're gonna go and get some more stuff from Macduff. Large shards are actually the highest point of interest from him, and we already have 4. So why not get the total 6 we need to get our first weapon scaled up? We're gonna go use the Leningrass key we got before, get the short bow in his shop. And now that he's open, he has regular Titanite, which we only need a little bit of as well. And I can also buy the rapier from him, which a lot of you guys know is the best weapon in the game for most intents and purposes. I don't want to actually say it's the best overall. It's the best with the shortest amount of time invested early on. Now we're going to get other weapons, but rapier is a great start. And since our stats are absolutely scuffed, we have 6 in everything, I might as well just level dexterity so we can actually meet requirements or get closer. And then Adaptability would probably be smart too. I don't think that having much more health at this point matters because we're keeping a half health bar the whole time. Actually, in fact, scratch that. I said that I can't level health. I almost caught myself slipping there. You guys got to start calling me out on that one. Yeah, the health actually won't move at all. I could use rings to increase it, like second, third dragon ring, whatever. But yeah, we can't even level that. We can't level equip load. So it's just going to be adaptability and dexterity, a little bit of strength when we need it. And then eventually we can get into other stats that also allow us to use certain types of magic in combination and other factors that might make the build stronger later. Now, I forgot to throw the skull right away after saving Rosabeth, so Ballbag Bobbies were on me for a little bit. Got them all in the corner over there, and this time I didn't go too close to the wall, so at least they threw the skull into the corner. It wasn't behind me. And we got the Froggy Boy and the bonfire for Fork in the Road. Now, when we're going into the Shaded Woods Forest, Vengarl's not really interesting, but I'm going to skip by him completely. We're not even going to go there right away. We're going to grab the red Tearstone Ring, actually. This is just in case my health gets into low range and I could utilize it for moments, because the tick down from the Symbol of Avarice isn't too aggressive, and there's nothing that's going to increase that health drain unless we get, like, poisoned or something, right? But let's be honest, Dark Souls 2 poison sucks. We're not going to want to stay like that. Chloranthy Ring +1 in Shaded Woods, just beside Vengarl is next, and then we're going to be lighting the bonfire before Scorpion S. Nika. Back to Majula really quickly. This guy sitting down, sunbathing and praying, you know, we're just going to take him out. He's got some stuff we want, and I know he's just minding his own business, but no one's around to witness this crime anyways. And also, by the time he swings the Claymore, he'll already be dead. Okay, maybe once. Maybe he hits me once. It's fine. It's not a hitless run. Ring of Steel Protection's great. It's going to boost our defense a little bit more since we don't really have a huge way of boosting defense, and the fact that our equip load is not able to be increased with levels, this is going to help on the early game side of things, with armor being kind of a detriment to our roll speed and, you know, our movement distance and all that. The stamina regen's also brutal when it comes to it, even with Chloranthy. So Radiant Life Gem over here on the top, I'm collecting those life gems basically as much as I can because they're going to be useful a little bit later on. I wouldn't want to waste them early, but the medium-sized life gems are great. Got Titanite chunks in the chest here, Petrified Dragon Bone, and this pot thinks it can curse me. Dude, I'm already maximum cursed. This game doesn't even understand what we're doing. It doesn't matter if I get cursed over and over, and you might notice later on that's going to come in handy too, but for now, it's like the pots didn't understand who was coming to town. This ghost, I got to take out, but unfortunately, we almost die right here. Red Tearstone activates. I go for it again. He's just too quick. He had the dagger. I should have kept the dagger out, and we could have had a knife fight mirror match, but I used the rapier. It was a little bit too slow. At least the guy that's the ghost looks cooler because I have the randomizer mod disabled, but when you have it installed, it makes them look like thieves. And now we're on Scorpion S. Nika. I'm going for the tail immediately to get her to actually do a lot of tail attacks, but almost getting stuck on the other side. This is the best method that we could pretty much use to kill her quickly. And I could have used some buffs and everything, but again, our DPS is so good, as you can see right here, even with the minimal stats we have, that it kind of just shows why the rapier is one of the best. And I got the tail cut off on the one side. Looks like an uncooked ham from the inside. Lovely. Actually, it probably looks like a ham that expired. It's a little bit purple. She goes down in 2 seconds flat, and I was actually going to go and switch the armor because I thought we had the merchant armor, but we're keeping Malin alive. You might wonder why. Well, I thought that he might be able to give me some boss items later, but we'll see how that goes. For now, Gurm's Respite Bonfire over by Doors of Pharos is really helpful because we have to kill Royal Rat Authority later on, and that is the closest one to him. And now Gavlan's cousin Junior goes down. I'm sorry, Gavlan. I won't tell him about it. Get the Radiant Life Gem from the pots over by the campsite, light the campsite bonfire, and now we have access to Congregation, Magus, and then Freya later. So I'm using a little bit more resources to make the rapier fully upgraded. Now we're actually going to Mullen to buy all of his inventory. From what I remember, to be able to get him to upgrade his actual stock, you have to buy everything. There might be a soul amount you have to spend, so you can tell me if I'm right or wrong about that. I was always under the impression you have to buy every single thing in his shop, and then he goes over to the other side, is in a completely different stance, and actually forgets who you are because he's so rich. Now we're going to go to where the peasants roll down the boulders, and I am trying to be speedy here, but I'm not going to be completely reckless, so we'll kill the first guy, see what he's dropping. He does give me the peasant shirt, which is great for ADP, but it sucks because I'm going to be leveling ADP to a really good spot anyways, meaning on this run it doesn't matter too much. Large Titanite shard, it's going to help with the budget a bit, and this guy almost gets me to the death level right there, the death zone, as we could say, just around red tier stone. Throwing a skull for the door, not playing around anymore. We're going to be really fast here. I probably should have thrown two, but this is just enough. These guys are pretty stupid. And as they all just stare around, absolutely nothing, because the skull faded out 3 seconds earlier, I fade out into the fog for Congregation and Magus right away. Now, Congregation goes down super fast. The thing with Congregation is even if you don't have a resin on the weapon and a crazy high upgraded weapon, they are pretty weak until they buff themselves. And you don't want them buffing the other enemies in the fight too, so you want to take them out really quickly, then you can take as much time as you want with everything else. And that's exactly what I'm doing. I'm just waiting to see if any of the basic enemies put themselves in a vantage point where they can be taken out one by one. And then Magus hides in the background with the crawly boys around his toes trying to protect him. Locking on, of course, is working amazingly, as you'd imagine Dark Souls 2 would. And as the crawly boys protect him, I'm trying to find an opening here still. I don't want to be too spicy, because there is the chance that even though I could kill Magus very quickly while trading with the guys on the floor, it'd be embarrassing to die at this point. It just would be really silly. We've already had some deaths. Let's not die to this boss. And one big whammy to finish him off. I love the sound when he dies. I don't know why. Jump attacks for the guys on the floor is pretty good. Even with the rapier having such a small hitbox and being almost impossible to land jump attacks on small enemies, we got him. And we're doing great, actually. We're making pretty good time on this run. I didn't have a clock up for it. It did take a crazy amount of time, as you might imagine, with all the content. And eventually I did die a lot, but we'll get to that later. For now, the white preset is amazing for elemental resistance, and it actually rivals a lot of other sets we're going to be getting later, which I'll show you in comparison. So we're going to grab that for defense for later. Bonfire ascetic over where Cromwell is in the attic. Lighting the bonfire near the chapel threshold so we can go back down to the second bonfire, and eventually what we will do there is we're going to increase the level of it with the bonfire ascetics for Freya, and then we can farm Freya in the future, but mainly for the resources like this Titanite chunk on the ledge that won't respawn, but these ones in the room that's lower level, where the lower bonfire is, that will respawn. The torch right there in the pot in the corner before we drop down is actually one of the biggest torch times we're going to get, so that's going to be helpful. And with that, throwing a skull into the spike pit, grabbing some more resources and another torch. And now we can make our way to the door, but just in case a peasant chases me, one extra skull. I am going to grab the hero soul and the gold pine resin in the corner over here, of course. And the thing is, the peasant could still actually chase me here, so this is a little bit of a blind spot I opened up for myself, and I'm looking behind me, I'm not seeing anything yet. I decide to go for this spider guy in the corridor, so you can kill him, but he'll trade with you on death, and he will kill you on the trade a lot of the time. He tries to lunge, but he misses. Peasant's right there. I'm feeling cool about it, because I'm like, okay, at least I kept a subconscious note the peasant's coming for me. And this is where I could have lived, but I go for him, and look at that. Instantaneous, almost no animation. He's already dead, but beyond the grave, he takes me out right away. So we ran back down there and got to Freya, and with Red Tier Stone activated for some reason, probably from falling down the spider webs. And I'm actually buffing my weapon a little bit for this one. I'm not using a bright bug of any sort or anything else, just the resin should be enough, with the rapier being pretty upgraded at this point. And Freya's pretty easy. Basically just wait for lasers and rotate. I found a way that makes lasers a bit more consistent, and it could be very obvious to you guys, but if you didn't know, if you do as many swings as you can, let's say you deplete your stamina fully, but you actually back away jogging on a diagonal angle, not straight away from her face, more often than not she does like a mini rotation and she'll queue up a laser right after, sometimes even doing that mini rotation without another attack in between, and you could chain a lot of those together. So you might notice, again, max out stamina. I'm doing this not the most correct way right away, but eventually I get in the groove, and there is even some other fights with her where I did pretty well with this. The distance required to get the laser is fairly far, but what the game does is it's searching for where the character is right when you're escaping, and it's trying to predict where it could use the attack. So sometimes she'll queue it pretty close, even though if you were just staying at that range and you never moved in the first place, she would just attack you with other stuff. So I find this pretty cool, and even though this is dragging on because she's doing a bunch of other attacks, it's not too bad. Jumping is pretty dangerous on her. You always want to get a good look while she's aerial because she could land on you, and that sucks. It does a ton of damage. But otherwise, just stay away from the back end wall if she puts herself up against a wall, and don't get too greedy with swings while you're in the corner. This one's fine because I could kill her. And as her head comes back down, the final hit is delivered. There's Freya. That's one great soul down already. Not too bad. Just gonna make sure that I switch to Silver Serpent. Got that right beforehand, and then we get the Great Soul because that's gonna also boost our soul count quite a bit, seeing as we will eventually pick up more of those, and also even basic Freya Soul too. So I can pop those, I just can't pop all of them where we'll have 0 of Freya Soul in the inventory. I want to have 1 of each. Oh, there's the Duke. I wonder what books he's reading. I'm gonna guess that he's trying to read them, but he's got so many books he doesn't know how to finish each book, so he's kind of read like 15% of each one. Anybody have problems with that? Anyone here have so many books that you've actually read majority of them only slightly? I feel like that happens with nonfiction more often. But yeah, anyways, Rapier to +10 already, and we still actually have residual upgrade materials for other weapons in the future. So now we're back to stats. Dexterity can be boosted even more for a bit more damage. It's kind of like one of those things where right now there's nothing else we can utilize that's going to move the health down on enemies more, even though we could get prepared and start doing like intelligence, faith, attunement, all these other stats. Because there's really only 2 stats we're not allowed to level, though they are big things for the actual playthrough and for challenge. I would say that getting prepared for some of these other stats earlier would have been smart because I could have had an easier time later using things that I'm picking up that I want to use later right away rather than having to wait and farm extra. And there might have even been a way to not have to farm at all. But that's for next time. I actually put the torch away when the arm swingy guys were on the prowl, and I should have just had it out so I could scare them. But yeah, I thought correctly in the first instance, and then as soon as I got to the stairs, I put it away. Not good, doesn't happen often, but on a damageless run, you'd be screwed. So we're getting poison arrows from Gavlan, poison throwing knives, of course. I do want some poison resin with the rest of the soul count that we have as well. And he does buy things. I could sell some stuff. A lot of the stuff we do have, though, I want to keep. So instead, what I'm doing is something that's kind of weird. It's probably only what the big shots do in Drang Lake, where you buy wares from the merchant and then you resell them for a super cheap price, basically donating them to a thrift shop right after because you're just a philanthropist. And yeah, that makes no sense whatsoever for soul count in this run. But it does actually unlock the potential for a new inventory, and then eventually you need to do that for him to get the boss equipment and stuff, which I'm just going to spoil for you right now. I don't end up using. I just wanted the opportunity. So all that stuff from Mullen gets sent out of the inventory to another place where it's going to probably be resold on the black market for a quarter the price, even though it's brand new. The tags are still on all those clothes, man. And yeah, I don't want to get rid of Petrified Dragon Bone just in case there is something that uses it that's good. And other than that, we could buy a little bit more poison stuff. I'm debating between poison moss and the resin. Unlikely that poisoning is going to be something I want to reverse that quickly. I'll probably be dead if it does activate, or I'll just wait it out with life gems. So I do go with the resin. We're gonna pull the chain over here, but first, let's be careful. Let's take this guy out at the very least. And dude throwing the water pots, not worried about him. We'll put the bow on. And short bow is great in this run for quite a few scenarios. I'm actually going to be using it for a while. This is the first instance where it comes in clutch because I'm not running all the way up to that bell, dude. Cursebro's cardio is pretty bad. It's fleeting just because he is deteriorating into a moldy raisin that was left on the floor in the corner of the kitchen for too long. Now that we're in Flexile, biggest priority is just stay with the baton side as usual. I love the side with the swords. I do know how to maneuver that too. The problem is, though, if I slip up one time, the single combo from the sword side will kill me, whereas one hit from the baton side will still let me live. So a mistake doesn't kill me immediately. In any single instance, even on a counter hit, I don't think I'd be dead at full health from batons. So he goes down super quick. Don't even have deep water on that fight. Back to Silver Serpent +1, some victory spins. And I'm still thinking right now, do I grab the Pyromancy hand? Do I really want it? It would be kind of smart. This is Cursebro's final adventure of the trilogy. He might want it, but I don't grab it though. I just skipped it completely. I was like, maybe Warmth would be cool. Maybe, you know, like Acid Surge or even Toxic Mist. Something that does poison could be fine. But instead, we just touch down at Bastille, and immediately I'm going back to the other side of Bastille using the Fragrant Branch of Yore that we got from Malentia on the statue outside Ruin Sentinels. And as I'm panicking to see if we get sandwiched between the door, I do indeed get the door last second, and what do you know, we're not interrupted. Perfect. So on the way down to Ruined Sentinels, just speed running across the pots over here. This Royal Swordsman, I've got to get revenge. I got to look cool. So we need a movie moment where he thrusts for me, and then I completely just swerve around him and don't even kill him. Because that first one, Outside Pursuer, still had me a little bit pissed. Now we're taking out Yahim of the Ruined Sentinels. He's going to swing himself off the edge right before I kill him, which is super annoying, but it gives me some time to just make sure my rings are good and everything and think about life. And he jumps back up. I'm so lucky that I actually heard the sound of him jumping because I wasn't ready to react to that. That would have easily been a death. Incredibly lucky. There was almost no skill in that at all. That was just a moment where miracles happened. And usually what you're wanting to do is actually look at him from below and watch him jump back up, then roll the timing of when he lands with the swing, such as what I did for Elysia. But I fell down by accident on Elysia, and now we're fighting Ricci and Elysia at the same time. Not ideal. With this much health left, anything that they do that overlaps is just going to kill me. It doesn't matter what it is. Triple spin is going to be a likelihood that when I wake up from getting knocked over, I'm dead. And then the shield throws are just bad territory altogether. So lots of different things they could do that would be problematic. I'm trying to basically make them do anything that's like a more basic single hand or double hand swing that goes into other combos, but nothing that is the spin, range, or jumping, especially overlapped. None of that. So I get Elysia first, not bad. And then with Ricci, it's going to be basically the same thing as the opening, but with more space. So very, very easy to fight him at this point. And if you're very close, they're not going to throw the shield. They're not going to do anything too weird. Ruined Sentinels also could be space for so many attacks, so luckily they have low health. I think they're unique enemies that are interesting enough where they don't need to be replaced. I don't think that you should change Ruined Sentinels too much. They just need a different arena. And they also just need a little bit of different AI, in my opinion, to be a better early game boss. I don't think there's too much you'd have to change. And as I try to touch the walls, embarrassingly forgetting where all the invisible items are, don't worry, I got the invisible walls later and realized all the items suck and we can't use them. I end up going and getting the bonfire before Sinner, and then we're going to level, what do you know, more dexterity. So our dexterity now is approaching the level where it doesn't need much more attention. Just checking to see if I have anything I can burn at the bonfire. There's no Sublime Bone Dust that we're really targeting in this run or anything, because life gems are going to be quicker and they can stack. And they could also over-heal us, which means that at the max health, they'll keep going as we get hit again within the health container. We get more ADP, and then after that, we're going to go back to make our trek to Last Sinner. Or, sorry, the Lost Sinner, not Last Sinner. There's probably more sinners in this game. There's Scholar of the First Sin, not Scholar of the 17,000th Sin. So right after I pull this gate here, there's going to be a lot of explosions, and it's not the kind of fireworks you want to see. These guys suck, and I remember on the first playthrough them blowing me up a lot. So let that guy do his thing, blow himself up, let the other two do their thing, kill them if you need to. And then it's the same process that we repeat on the upper floor. The only issue is there's dudes emerging from their tombs, which are these, I guess, stone casket things that are standing up. They kind of look like gourds. I don't even know who put them there, but yeah, whatever they're being stored for must have done something bad. So they're just breaking out of their shells here. We're trying to go and get the lever after it's clear. I think I'm being smart by going up the stairs. And then I get 3 of them at once. Normally in any other Souls game, I want to argue, this is where I'm coping a little bit, that explosion would have been behind me, but unfortunately somehow it still gets me. The frames still overlap. So I go back again, I get greedy, and I let them blow up as I'm pulling the lever and just run away. I'm not even killing any of them this time. It always sucks when you have a really good idea in mind, it goes almost perfectly to the last second, and then it doesn't go well, but the next time you do it the way that you think makes no sense, and it works first try. I hate that. But we got across the bridge. It's good news, at least. Sinner's Rise is now on the map, and this Royal Soldier's still trying to get revenge for the other Royal Soldier that I flexed on outside of the Ruined Sentinels. With the gargoyles in the background, just... You know what? Actually, wait a second, guys. I didn't do Bell Gargoyles. That's crazy. You know what, though? I'll probably, because, you know, this is the funny part, because I'm actually recording this part first, I'm going to mention that, actually. I'm going to tell you guys as a spoiler, so it's not going to be a shock at this point. On another note, this area right here, I don't know if everybody knows about it, but it's a secret area off to the side where the water kind of like just goes into the actual ocean, and there's a great view of the moon. I wanted to stop and just take in the atmosphere over here. I think it's one of the coolest bonus areas of the whole entire map. But if you are familiar with the term liminal space, or if you've ever seen any videos on liminal spaces in media, games, whatever, or even in real life, that's a liminal space to me for some reason. It just feels like it has its own atmosphere. It's different than everything else. So we went over there, and then after moon gazing, I got killed by Sinner on the first attempt. Not much to show you other than just getting stabbed in the dark, which kind of sucks, but I went back again without the lights turned on, and we're still trying to get Sinner down. Now we're approaching at least almost a halfway victory, and man, it's getting close. Her individual swings aren't enough to kill me, but as I'm healing though, because she's so quick following up with attacks, I'm never going to be fully healed from a single life gem before the next engagement. It's really hard to get away from her. So we're going to try that again, but I'm going to bring a torch this time. And the thing with water, if you guys know in this game, is you can't roll with a torch in your hand or it's going to put the actual fire in your hand out completely. They were that realistic with it, at least. So no rolling, we're just walking through the water, hoping that Flexile Sentry doesn't kill me. And it didn't, thank God. I didn't have any flame butterflies to pop as an item in front of these torches that we're going to light for the room. So with that, we grab the life gem by the stairs and we go back in, and it's now nicely lit. What this does mechanically is it actually allows you to lock on to Lost Sinner constantly. So in the dark, you can lock on to her, but the game will automatically cancel it at random times. And I'm not exactly sure what the system or the mathematical calculation is for this. It could be that the game measures distance, but because she's moving so much, it feels random. Regardless, though, it's way harder to stay locked on the whole time. Now it's just a cakewalk. Basically, you're never going to be locked off at all. And it also does help to see things, I will say that. Her moveset is not that bad when it's in a bright setting. Though, out of all the Great Souls, it is one of the more challenging ones. Not a crazy amount of health, but quicker moveset. And some really weird, rarer combos and swing speeds, I would say. On New Game Plus as well, if you haven't actually done it, 2 guys come out of the holes in the wall right there behind me, and they join the fight. That's always fun. So we got our second Great Soul down already. That's amazing. We only have 2 more left before we met the requirements for Shrine of Winter the normal way, not the cheesy boy way. And I'm going to say hi to my aunt, actually. My aunt over here. Her name is... I didn't think of a name in time. Damn it. What's a good name for the aunt that we just picked up the branch from? You know what? I'll let you guys decide. What was that chest's name? I have no idea. So now we're going back to Malentia. We're picking up Bright Bugs. We're getting the life gems. And I want to go and kill Ornstein now since we already have the Dragon Rider bonfire available. But I actually do need a bigger budget. And he's going to be the next thing that we can kill to get just enough to be able to buy a bit more stuff. Unfortunately denied by the Drake that was on the bridge. Really sucks. So these Hive Knights, when you try to kill them, they'll hit you with things that don't animate fully, so it'll look like you were hit by something invisible, and they have combos that spin their spears vertically, as well as the sword ones are equally as fast and just odd for the AI of a basic enemy. I actually end up having this one run away from me for some reason. I think that he realized I was Curse Bro, and he realized that we had defeated Dark Souls 1 and 3, so he's actually just running for his life. I try to convince him, I'm like, hey, come on, and then he's like, okay, I'm not a coward. But he is very short-lived on that endeavor there. With the old knights, strafing is the easiest thing you can do with the sword ones, so just running under the sword and then rotating clockwise the whole time will make you miss every single attack except for that one because I stopped rotating. But you get the idea. Very, very simple. The last Hive Knight here with the spear is tough enough where I'm not going to fight him one-on-one melee because, again, he's going to outrange me on every single engagement, and there's just some animations they have that happen before you actually see them. So my health will be gone before anything actually shows up on the screen fully. So we're going to hit him with some arrows as he's coming down the stairs here. And I'm actually lucky enough where I get him in the chest a few times, but I get a headshot last second. Super crispy. And as you can see right here, he's going for some big combos, very similar to the Stone Soldiers. Just with all these horizontal swings, it's almost like, hey, I picked a polearm weapon that pokes, but I'm not poking with it. I'm doing every other kind of attack. It's basically a sword. That's cheating, man. He's moveset swapping and we're not even PvPing. Come on. Drake goes down super fast. He doesn't have a lot of health, but, you know, he's a very good gatekeeper with the way they placed him. I'm going to say that's an architecture boss at its finest. And now with old Dragon Slayer, I put poison on to see if he would actually get health drain from it. Just random. I never really tried this before. I never even looked up if he could be poisoned easily. I was assuming he could be. And then he gets me through the pillar. So, yeah, now I'm just Yeah, just getting stared down by Ornstein. That's kind of rude. Well, I'm not going to poison him this time. Maybe that's why he got pissed off. He's like, dude, I just got the armor all done up nice and fancy for you. It was poopy brown gold before, and now it's silver. He actually had it polished for literally a year straight to make the cut for DS2 so he'd look different. Come on. That's insane. So now we're strafing and just trying to get out of the way of those big intro slams. And that's, I think, one of the coolest attacks they let him keep out of anything, because when they translate the dash that he does that usually glitches in the first game, it's pretty weak on this game, very easy to anticipate. But the use of dark magic is interesting too. So though we don't really see a lot of that in this at all, we are just going to have a standard fight with him. He's going to try to get the uppercut. He's going for that backswing. That one's kind of sketchy, because if you don't have enough iframes, the lingering frames on the recovery of it will get you, unfortunately. Now we're just having a stare down once again. All these other weird thrust attacks that he does that are new to DS2 make him a lot easier. I think they could have just kept an identical moveset and he would be appreciated. But things like that, they leave him open so long that if you get a few of them in the fight, that's half his health right there. So no problem with old Dragon Slayer. Dying to him in the first place was embarrassing, even with half health. But it happened though. Silver Serpent Ring to get the bonus. And then Leo Ring that he drops actually is going to be great, because we're going to be using 3 different weapons that all can utilize counterattacks with the thrust moveset type. So not that that spoils anything with the other 2 weapons I'm mainly going to be upgrading fully, but it's actually going to work for every main weapon that we're actually planning using. So that's great. That's another damage ring on top of something like Flynn's Ring of Blades all the way up to Ring of Blades +2. And also even clutch rings if I want to go that far, or just buffing with different types of resins and magic. So we will indeed be breaking the game when it comes to damage eventually. But for now, I'm just breaking my knees falling into the pit where Rotten is, because I don't have enough health to survive, even with the cat ring that we just bought from Shaoquire. It's kind of weird, because I'm used to just having all of the stuff unequipped and we're fine. So for now, we're going to Huntsman's Copse. Dark Diver is over there in the corner. I'll go visit him later. We do indeed go get some stuff from him, but for now, just getting the bonfire by him. And then we're going to go and get the other Huntsman's bonfire as a hooligan with a baseball bat sneaks up on me. Dude, that's like 1990s type stuff, dude. This is... Why do you have a baseball? Who's playing baseball in, like, the medieval times? Like, what are they even using? What's going on there? Anyways. So I still need the lockaway key for the bonfire that's the closest to Skeleton Lords. We got the hooligan squad that actually decided to upgrade from baseball to an actual martial art and use weapons. And we have Rowena invade us. She's guarding where the key is, and she's going to be coming from the direction we have to head. So instead of actually going up there and 1v1ing her in the circle, I was going to try to run the whole gamut and see, can we just make it still? And also at the same time, I'm forgetting the keys up there while I'm actually doing this. Like right away, I didn't clue in that the key was over there. It had been long enough that, again, it's not a repeat thing I do that often in this area. I usually do any %. So I really need to be going up there anyways, and I could have just ran away from her, grabbed the key, jumped off the cliff, and even if I died, it'd still be better. But doesn't matter, we're just going and seeing, do I want to go for Skeleton Lords right away? Do I want to get it the shortcut at least, so for the lockaway bonfire, I can go through the back exit? And I'm just taking time to think as I'm running away, basically. So in this cave over here, there's quite a few different things that are actually useful. Right away, there is an opportunity to get the torch going, so why not see a little bit better? We have a lot of torch time. Greeted by some skeletons that I almost died to right there. And a necromancer that's going to keep them alive repeatedly. So I keep running, I see the lizard, I get enticed by the shiny, which is an Estus Flask Shard. That's a good item to make up for, because if you remember, the Estus Flask Shard in Majula was traded for another symbol of avarice, and we lost out on that permanently. I was saying as part of the rules, I'm not going to cheat in another Estus Shard. That's not fair. I screwed up, so I have to take ownership for that, and Merciless Rowena has to take ownership for having low poise and get shanked off the cliff. So that was my setup right there. I just decided to just line her up on the cliff, and we got the lockaway key this time. That's how it should have went right away, but the Estus Shard was a nice bonus, and now I don't have to worry about the shortcut either way. I could go either way I want to. So we're lighting the bonfire here. This dog tries to creep up on me. Let's take him out. And what do you know? We're actually right beside Creighton. Creighton's my favorite NPC in the game. Mainly because his whole entire thing is mainly he just wanted to go here because it was super challenging to survive and he thought he had a high chance of dying, so he thought it was cool. And then Pate pisses him off and locks him in this thing, which, you know what, I feel for you, man. I'm gonna find Pate for you. If you don't find Pate first, I'll kill him for you. I'll be your hired assassin, even though he never really paid me anything. We actually kind of just saved his life, but he is my favorite NPC. I've always enjoyed the voice acting from him too. And now we have to fight Skeleton Lords. So right off the bat, taking out one as soon as I possibly can. Wasn't too pretty, and I'm trying to stun lock them into submission with just straight combos so I don't have to worry about going back and forth. Since they do have Pyromancy that does decent damage, their swings are a little bit more annoying to avoid when there's multiple of them at the same time close to you. And another thing too, when you backstab them, in this game, backstabs, you can take damage while in the animation that you don't have invulnerability. You get reduced damage, but you still take damage. And with that many skeletons behind the guy, of course I'm not going to go backstab him. Another thing that would have been great for this fight would be Alluring Skulls, which I have 2 of, so luckily I can take out some of the skeletons with the little bit that's remaining. But the Rapier is not great for crowd control. It's not a horizontal sweeping type action that it does. You know, a hammer that pancakes would also be really good here, like the Old Knight Hammer. That with the follow-up R2 that it does, where it spins around, is so good. That's what I actually would use for a damageless run or hitless run if I was doing Skeleton Lords as well. Very classic on that. But now that I'm out of skulls and they still have about, we'll say 35% health left, we're just running around. And we're going to do as many random things as we can to survive, also while paying very close attention to the bone wheels and the bigger skeletons that do more damage. Line them up. Man, it sucks though too, because when you're trying to attack in this game, the attacking doesn't get centered as easily. Basically what happens is if you choose a direction for attacking, and this is for the people that haven't played Dark Souls 2, or maybe are newer to it, you choose that direction, but then you have to wait a really long time to change the direction. You can't change it while you're attacking the same way. There's only micro measures you can directionally influence the attack. It'll still be kind of pulled magnetically in that direction. So you'd have to go back to a resting animation, then choose the direction again, which takes forever. And that kind of sucks. Whereas the other games, you could attack one direction, then change the direction, and it'll literally change almost to what that direction is as the follow-up attack. This makes things very interesting. That's why PvP is also kind of butt clenchy too, because you commit to something and you're straight up committed to it. It takes a lot more finesse to be accurate. Just like that parry there. See you guys. Goodbye. Don't worry, that's not going to be the only parry in this run. I decided to fit in quite a few. And to celebrate, let's burn our tongue. Curse Bro's already cursed, so why not just do some crazy stuff in the meantime, like burn our tongue with a flaming sword. I think it actually does kill some bacteria that could be harmful, and since we're going through Shrek's poopy swamp before the bonfire here, it's kind of on brand, but I should have done it after that though. You know, I don't think getting prepared ahead of time by using fire before you go into the bacteria really counts. So Chloanne has some more large Titanite shards. She has them at 1,000 per, which is great. That's actually a really good, or sorry, those are regular Titanite shards. What am I saying? She's got more regular Titanite shards, so when the limited amount that Lenigrast has runs out, we can get more. That was my bad. She'll eventually have large shards at a good price, and she'll have even more stuff like chunks and slabs, even stones we can use for infusion, so we want to bring her back to Majula. Emerald Herald just getting a nice close-up view inside the mouth there. That was weird. As we're leveling, and now we're taking out more of the desert sorceresses that we need to before we can actually get into Harvest Valley. So they're probably one of the most dangerous enemy types we have up until we start to get to the DLC. They'll kill us immediately. There's so many different attacks they can do, and they go really far. Just incredible distances. Goodbye, Shrek. I don't think he actually died, but that was satisfying. Shrek 2's over there as well. And Forlorn invaded, so I'm just going to jump off this staircase and see if I can escape him. This wasn't the greatest idea. It seemed really cool for a second, but then this guy with the sickles came by, and yeah, that's not good. You know what else isn't good? When you go into Covetous Demon and you're prepared to kill him because he's one of the easiest fights in the game, and then he does that to you. Brutal. There's no excuses. You could just call me out if you want to. I called myself out a long time ago. I've already gotten over that one. as we see the embarrassing sight of the soul beside Covetous Demon, a sight you never want to see because you just don't want to die on this fight. It's just, you can't die on Covetous Demon. I'm starting to get the hang of it again. I'm baiting the tail attacks. I'm trying to look for an opening, forgetting how many actual tail slams he really does with that, because a lot of the time when I fight him, it's hand swipes and roly-polies for the most part. And in fact, the last few times I fought him, in 2 of the 3 occasions, he actually did eat me, which was hilarious. And he spits you out where the armor actually gets taken off your character and you have to put everything back on, so at least we avoided that. But a lot of the roly-polies, he's like a hot dog at 7-Eleven right now. Just a little bit more surface area so we can actually kill him with the rapier, being such a fine utensil of mass destruction. And I'm going to revive and pretend that didn't happen. So Harvest Valley now is getting open up a little bit. The first bonfire over here. Usually the trek from this bonfire to the next one's really hard for me. Though with the mannequins here, I let them fall down. I took out one, and this second one that falls down, you're going to notice it lands right beside me, and as it's doing its animation for the knife throw, it doesn't stagger me. It throws it right beside, I get up the ladder, and I'm lucky enough to even get into the fog right here too. So they're the ones that climb up the ladder when they get spawned in originally, but then also when you respawn here, they're already at the top because you haven't triggered them, and they become problematic. This time I was able to just get to the bonfire. I was able to, not so, you know, with not too much difficulty, light fire to the world and celebrate a blaze with the torch in my hand. And then this ninja guy literally just Jackie Chan'd me into the hallway. That was so close. But it's not over though. You think it might be, you're like, okay, there's a chance that he either just straight up dies right now, or he gets the hidden bonfire. He trades with me, I almost die. Don't swing through his body to get the poison pot exploding all over me and getting me poisoned. That would have been embarrassing. And now we're on Mytha. So opening with the Soul Spear, Mytha really is just dangerous for the attack that she holds, that is the jabby jab, and doesn't telegraph at all. This one right here. Lands on me immediately, but I have just enough health to be able to survive. And again, this is with no defense being given from anything other than that steel protection ring, making it a possible good thing that I did. It's not necessarily hurting me at all, even for the equip load that it's going to be taking up with the rings and everything. I think it actually is saving me sometimes. And everything else on Mytha is pretty simple too. It's a lot of overheads, a lot of thrusts. She does do some tail whip spins. She does a lot of magic, but if you're close to her, you're rarely going to see any magic that actually matters. And of course you do want to set fire to the windmills so she has no poison around the outside of her arena. That's very smart. I could have done it with the poison because we stayed so close, but either way, just that delayed thrust she holds is probably one of the most sinister attacks out of anything they've designed, seeing as even when I practiced it to get it down consistently, when I was trying to do damageless on this, I probably spent a good 4 hours just focusing on that attack. That's it. And we got a Christen Iron Keep with a parry. I gotta let him know Curse Bro showed up, but again, short-lived. Feeling good for a second while we're getting to the Merchant. We got Major Old right here. Checking out what he's got. He's got the spells such as Hush, and he's got Soul Spear, but that Soul Spear from Armorer Dennis got me. Yep, and then the Olo Knight's like, I want to see the sunset, so he just gets a better view. Fencer Sharon invades me on the way back over there, so I find a safe spot to just cheese her from. And I would recommend, for Armorer Dennis or Sharon, this is good, but Sharon doesn't have projectiles, so it's way better to actually have her invade. There's a detailed video you can find of which spots you have to trigger on the ground to get them to invade, but I do teabag her after with some zooms, reminiscent of the good old Halo days. And then Treacle Pine Resins are a debate right now. None of the magic that's offensive matters. We're not going to be using any of that in this run. Curse Bite Ring is dude, we're cursed, bro. We don't need a Curse Bite Ring. I'm max cursed already, if you think about it. Can't really be affected by curse anymore at all, other than just health drain from Nishandra's orbs. So I got some resins, and then we're going to go and see if we can kill Smelter Demon. But first I got to actually get that bridge lowered. And Armorer Dennis is definitely chasing us right now. This was the best I could devise of a plan that's kind of hybrid, where I do kill some enemies, but then we also sprint. We try to matrix the arrow from the bridge over there that's overhead, pulling the lever to get the bridge to come down, another matrix roll away, another thrust off screen that comes into view, and now we're just bobbing and weaving with Armorer Dennis not getting me with the Soul Spear this time, or whatever that was, Soul Vessel, something else, Vortex, I think it's Soul Vortex particularly. And a Lone Knight Captain goes for the overhead shot. He misses, but then his son gets me with the ankle slicer. I'm proud of you, boy. Good job. Gee, thanks, Dad. That's basically the relationship right there. They're just out hunting curse bros, going to hunt some raisin people. Let's see if we can actually avoid that again. Alone Knight Captain queues up for the T, but Sun gets stuck, body blocked completely with the lineup that I have, perpendicular to his back. And now we're good. Smelter Demon's pretty simple. I actually really like this fight, mainly because we actually can do melee on this while we have health drain at the same time built in, but also additional health drain from him. And it adds a little bit of spice to the fight, because we're probably going to have to do it perfectly, but it's a very satisfying fight to do perfectly at that. Now, when we go to Blue Smelter later, it's a little bit of a different story. I do use some other interventions there, but on this, we're just getting pretty aggressive using life gems to offset the drain as we're in his face and getting the most damage we can into his transitions. I like to keep him in the center of the room if I can as much as possible, so whenever I get pinned against a wall, I will try to get better footing and not be too greedy. And then that also keeps the camera angle in check too, because these pillars that stick out of the wall make it really hard for you to actually see them. See how it readjusts the camera as you walk around them? That kind of sucks. Doesn't matter though, Rapier's putting in work. How many of you guys like Smelter Demon as one of the best fights in the game? I'd say he's top 3 for me out of everything that's not DLC. If we don't count DLC in general, he's easily top 3. I think when I discovered him, he was really annoying too. He did kill me quite a few times, but mainly because it's like on that cusp of not being a Dark Souls 2 fight. It's almost a Dark Souls 3 level, but not fancy enough to meet the cut. It's almost like Dark Souls 3 prototype. And Smelter Demon down, switching to Covetous Silver Serpent once again. Victory spins because that one felt pretty good. It sucks to get to Smelter Demon, so you gotta celebrate when you can. We're off to Strayed Cell now with the Sinner's Rise bonfire we got over where the gargoyles were storming. And I'm just doing a shooting gallery right here, practicing my headshots. Doug would be really happy. If you guys don't know FPS Doug, he would probably be fiending for the sniper rifle after seeing that one. So we're gonna take Strayed from stone to human again and talk to him so we can look at what his inventory is like, but also he's blocking the doorway. Yeah, move over, dude. All right, so now we got the bonfire at least. And his inventory is pretty stacked, so he actually can transmute souls for magic that's very good and other weapons that we're just not going to be able to pick up from something like Malin, or I think Ornifex might close the gap on certain things too. But yeah, basically these weapons, they're tempting. I don't think any of them are of interest for me right now, but I do just look through just to make sure I know what I want to do, because I didn't pre-plan the hard rules of what the build was going to be ahead of time. I had some general loose terms in my head, and there's things that can fit that of all sorts because this game has so much variety. But nothing seems of interest right now, so I'm going to get his gesture, which is just the mock gesture, and we're going to come back to him later, so we have his bonfire at the very least. Oh, look who it is. Yep, I just noticed that Pate is chilling right there, over where the Sorcerer's Staff is, that we're going to have to get to cast Fall Control, which I'll show you what we need that for very quickly. But first, we got to kill him. I told Creighton, you know, I'm like, man, if I see him first, I'll get him for you, so you don't have to worry, you could rest easy. He probably would be pissed about that, though, thinking of how hardcore he is with the fact he wants to purposely go to a dangerous land to challenge himself. He probably wants the guy to find him, so they can have an epic duel to the death. This hidden door by the stairs at the beginning of the hallway after Pate gives you the Sorcerer's Staff. And that's actually DeMarcus, that chest right there. DeMarcus actually is not a cousin nor a brother or sister. He's a uncle. Uncle DeMarcus right there with the Sorcerer's Staff. And that one right there, that chest, Sandra, we don't actually go talk to Sandra. Sandra's not someone that we associate with anymore for reasons I'm not going to tell you why, so we're not going to open Sandra. We're going to buff up the Rapier, and we're actually going for a Ring of Blades +1 on this Pursuer fight number 2. This is only round 2 of 3 that we're going to be going through to get all the Ring of Blades, because I am, in fact, getting every single one. Though it's very fleeting, and the effort level you have to put into it at the very end to get the last one can be quite a lot, I'm still going to do it. And it's going to come at a cost that's kind of funny that I forgot about, but we'll get to that bridge soon enough and hopefully cross it smoothly. So for Pursuer, I always made a promise, if I ever get grabbed by the blue attack, I'm gonna take my computer, I'm gonna basically just uninstall the graphics card, break it in half, and then eat it. because there's no way I'm playing this ever again if he gets me with that grab blue sword attack. That's so easy to avoid that you could literally sneeze by accident, and the momentum your body would go through and the shift in your bone structure would just be marginal enough to be right beside it. You wouldn't even have to actually take a footstep. You would just sneeze. The wind could be 5 kilometers per hour. It would blow you slightly to the side, and you'll never get grabbed by it. So please don't get grabbed by that attack. And just like that, oh, he's playing hard to get. He goes for one more swing. I get him in the left butt cheek. So let's compare. Let's see. Ring of Blades +1. Yeah, let's switch that off. So a little bit heavier, but not a big deal. It's going to boost the attack very, very slightly. It's nothing too much, maybe like 15 damage or so. You guys can check the official stats if you want to see on like the wiki or whatever, but it's very small. Now we're going for Old Iron King. All the hoopla in between getting from Smelter Demon to Old Iron King is very straightforward. It's a lot of bow action, a lot of killing enemies strategically, so I didn't want to bore you guys with that. We can just get right into the actual meat of the area, which is killing him so we can get the DLC 2 open and have another Great Soul knockdown on the list. His fight was pretty simple. Now, it probably would have been smart for me to use like Aromatic Ooze or some sort of buff on him to speed it up a little bit, but I actually like this fight. A lot of people don't for whatever reason. For some strange case scenario, his moveset is interesting to me. The thing about it that really sucks, though, is the way they animated the fire. It's not even the arena, it's not the basketball hoop that's in the middle that you get dunked through. It's just the way the fire is animated. Even the laser's pretty cool. Now, okay, let's say he backed up and he used the laser. Then the laser could hit you. Because it's so close, it doesn't actually touch you because it's behind you. So that was a little bit of an oversight, but yeah, him hitting you from farther range would require you to go across the map, and that's a little silly. So with the laser and everything, maybe he could just back up into the lava, and it's purely an Elden Ring moment where you yourself have to dodge it, but there's no way to punish unless you also have range as well. And then let's get even more imaginative. There's platforms in the lava, and you can traverse them to do some sort of final phase. So that'd be interesting. But now that we have Sorcerer's Staff, and we're all ready to go, sponsored by Uncle DeMarcus, we got Fall Control, and we also have Silver Serpent Ring combined, or sorry, the Silver Cat Ring combined. There's no way we're gonna break our ankles falling off anything at this point. In fact, I bet you we could probably fall into the abyss itself and somehow survive even without the Artorias Ring. It's just such overkill for falling. And I'm not gonna go down to the gutter yet. We're actually gonna stop at Grave of Saints first, so we can actually do Royal Rat Vanguard, because it'll take us as a shortcut into there, but it is another boss I want to knock off the list at the same time. Got Roy the Explorer showing up right here. I think he's got the Evelyn. I don't know what he's hitting me with, though. He might have the invisible rings, actually. I couldn't see anything there. He almost kills me, though. That was very close. And speaking of which, I didn't actually restock skulls, so after I threw my first and only one that I had going into this room, the rats are a little bit disoriented for a quick moment, but then after that they catch on, and I have to be a lot quicker with just moving around and, you know, not taking them out with even 2 swings at a time, sometimes just poking them and running away. It sucks because triggering the Vanguard requires you to kill enough of the actual rats, but then once he spawns in too, his damage he does is a lot more than them. In the cases that I've personally seen, especially in that randomizer we did, oh my god. So now that he's spawned in, we're just being careful. There's the Mohawk dude. Okay, so I'm not gonna get cornered, I'm not gonna get myself completely trapped. Rapier just doesn't have enough sweeping power or raw damage to take out the entire crowd, and right there I feel like I should have been dead or trapped, but in both case scenarios we got lucky by like just a square inch. That was such a tight squeeze. I'm not exactly sure how that worked out, but again, this is kind of like that stuff where moments before I even made it there, it built up the scenario of how the rats surrounded the other statues to allow me to have that gap, so I wasn't moving terribly before that, but in that moment I lingered way too long. Almost died on Vanguard, kind of embarrassing, but now we have the Rat Covenant that we can join. I said no right away. Cursebro, he's arguing with me. He doesn't actually want to do it, but I'm making him. He has no choice. It's kind of like kids going to school, you know? It's like you have to. It's just the system, you know? So we're putting him in his first day of kindergarten here. We're buying some poop. That's kind of on point. And the poop is going to allow us to inflict toxic later if we want to. This jump right here was surprising. So I thought you would guaranteed be dead from that. I tried to jump to the item. That looks like way too long of a fall distance, but like I said, with Silvercat and fall control, it's almost like you could fall into infinity, even though this game's known to have the worst fall distance. And now just taking out the exploding guys, I was gonna leisurely go over here and grab the extra item that I normally would here, which is great heal. Might come in handy on this build in particular, since healing is something that is what makes it possible to survive. Otherwise, we would just die from standing still eventually. And now we're going down to the gutter. So this is actually an area I forgot how to do for a while, but I surprised myself here. You'll see a little bit of stumbling right in the beginning. So I'm going to swerve this guy over here. I don't even take him out. I just try to go around this side of the platform on the first level, right before the bridge. I see the bridge over there. I'm like, okay, I know where I am. Then they're all building up, so I go off to the right side, and now I'm on the upper level that you can do the shortcut with. The jump, dude, the jump was so close, but I got it. That jump, sometimes you can fail just because the game gives you the baby jump, and you can't decide that. That's actually a thing you can mod out of the game to make it consistent all the time, but the game will screw you over something that's not skill-based. And I somehow got the non-skill-based jump first try. We got this other jump that I've never done before. I just saw it recently, so I tried it. And then we broke the back wall instead of taking the fog gate. So this is something I've never even done before. And I just remembered it and tried it. It worked. Very cool. And then I forgot exactly where I was with the ladders and just guessed, and it worked as well. But then it gets even more panicky at the bottom, because I had a feeling there was some items I needed down here for some reason. And I noticed also on the ladder that I came in on, the way I exited it was not great to get out of the door. So I have all these enemies around me. I'm not really paying attention to where the exit is here. And then I'm like, do I need items? I see one in the pot, going around the ladder, wondering if I'm going to get pinched between a pillar. Still no exit here, but there's dark fog, which actually is one of the items I do need. So I found it at least. That's good. And it kind of all works out with the fragrant branch at the bottom there and the regular exit. So yeah, dark fog's going to be helpful for one particular situation that you might be able to guess right now, but I'll save it for later. And it's only really relevant to have one casting of it, so we might as well just get it from there. I'm not sure if there's other ways. I'm sure you probably could get more than one copy on NG, but either way. Now we got to take out some giants. I was using poison on them to lower their health pretty quickly. So the first one went down super fast. On this second one here, got him poisoned a second time. And I was also doubling that up with lacerating arrows to get bleed in chunks on top of the poison. They went down super quickly without the bow even being upgraded that much, which is great. And now we're on the Rotten. Rotten I haven't done for a while either, but I have played him so many times that if there were slip-ups, especially with the fact I can level ADP, the embarrassment would be almost on the level of getting grabbed by the blue attack by Pursuer. Not quite as much, like I could forgive myself. I wouldn't eat my graphics card and never play the game again. But I'd probably turn off the PC and stop playing for a while. So at least we got the Rotten, no embarrassment there. And he gives us a good chunk of souls because he's another great soul. That's 3 of 4 down. Actually, wait, no, that's the last one. What, my math, dude, my math is not mathing right now. That's crazy. That is the last great soul. I'm so used to it being that we do Rotten so early that it wouldn't be the last one, but it is. We've done all of them. So we could technically do Shrine of Winter now. Not that that's necessarily the main priority overall, to just progress all the mandatory game. But yeah, we get to talk to Eldia at least. So he just scares the absolute shit out of me popping out of the ground, but I still wave at him. He's actually like that figure in the fantasy story or whatever, where it's like Curse-Bro wishes that he was actually the real dad, but he's just like some other random villain that pops up that is fatherly to him because he embraces the curse at a maximum level of emerging through portals in the ground and being engulfed in dark flames of doom. But he's actually kind of a good guy, so it's like it's almost, you know what it reminds me of? There's a couple iconic stories where I could think of Eldia's resemblance. We could say like Magneto in X-Men. We could say who else? Let's see. Like, you know, okay, Snape in Harry Potter's kind of a dickhead, but he's still technically a good guy in some situations, so it's not as bad as that, but it could be kind of like that too, and a select few others as well. But I think, yeah, Eldia is interesting, and Curse-Bro definitely is connected to the shenanigans that Eldia has been into as well. They have some sort of weird occult like thing going on. So we're gonna wake up Sin from his eternal slumber here, which probably pissed him off because his alarm clock wasn't supposed to go off for another 3 hours, but He's still flying, which is good. As long as he doesn't take out the structures that they took forever to build in the Sanctum City, there won't be some sort of outrage. So at least we're good there. And I have Dark Whelpin. Sorry, Whelpin? I have Dark Weapon now. Well, whelping is what that guy did when I killed him, when he dropped the Sanctum Mace. But yeah, we have Dark Weapon. It's pretty good. We got that from the Outcast Falcon. I believe he is the merchant that was in the chair. I think I called him Dark Diver Grandhall before, but they're different guys. I've been corrected by you guys before. But yeah, he sells Dark Weapon. We already had the bonfire for it. We grabbed that. It's going to be great for multiple castings, even within fights, to recast over and over again rather than Resonant Weapon. Though Resonant Weapon can be stronger with certain stats, Dark is just a more well-rounded bet for most of the game. And then we're going to get some other buffs too later. But for now, that's a great one that we can actually cast and have the stats to use. The Witch Tree Branch and the Bellvine that we got also when we were trying to unlock the giants from the chest room are great casting tools. But there is one really rare drop that I got. At least I think it's rare, and it replaces both of them in one item that you'll see later. So that's really cool. For now, though, we're just using each one separately, where the Witch Tree Branch can do dark and regular sorcery. Bellvine is specifically just for faith. So after getting the first bonfire in the DLC here, just opening up all of the buttons we can for everything that is relevant. This item right here, why not? It's right in front of us before we actually go and do the mandatory stuff. We got the Dragon Charm. And now we're hitting the button on the floor to escape. So these guys you would normally have to kill, and if you want to kill all of them properly, I would say one by one it takes a while. You'd also want to go to the other room off to the side as well. Not worth it. Not worth it at all. We're just going to drop through the hole in the floor here. We're not even going to go to where the puzzling stone sword is or anything like that. We don't need it. I want the Flynn's ring, but I'm taking some time to debate it. So I'm going to cast Fall Control. I'm thinking, okay, let's not die to the bugs. We're deep enough into the DLC where I'd have to run back through the bridge again. And the first time you go through the bridge, you have the fire with Sin, so he roasts those Sanctum Knights. It's a lot easier. I don't want to go through that again. So we're just trying to take a strategic path, but look at that, dude. I'm almost dead again. I want to say the only reason I am surviving these things is because that steel protection ring. It's so close. If it's not, then I would be at like a millimeter of health or less. Insane, man. But we got up to the room with the Flynn's ring. And yeah, that part always is annoying, especially trying to do it perfectly. I absolutely hate it because you can't take out all those guys ahead of time. There's no angle you can shoot through the floor to get enough of them where you're completely free. So like patience does not pay off there completely. It's just a mixture of like, okay, make sure like you land good. And then after that, whatever their orientation is what you got to go with. Speaking of orientation, this dude that's hugging the wall here, just doing this weird hobble walk towards me, definitely is locked on the curse bro, but I don't know why he's moving so slowly. It's kind of weird, but he's moving away from where we need him to be, which is good. So I'm going to pull the other one even further after the spikes have been taken away from the floor. And we're going to see if we can at least grab the key for later. Where's that other guy's position? He's just going off to where the item is. This is kind of lucky because he could have been on a route where he's facing me. And because of that alone, I'm able to open the chest. The other guy chasing me, I pulled him far enough where I can just dodge away from the chest after opening it, grab the item, and he still doesn't get me going up the ladder right here. That's a crazy play, but it's not guaranteed. There's so much randomness on this part. We still also need to open up the secret door for the bonfire across the gap. So he's a little bit preoccupied with that other attack that he did that missed. We hit the button that's above where the stairs is, circle back around the ladder. Look at this. Dude, that swing was crazy. It was like basically the hitbox on it. Somehow either iframes were granted when mounting the ladder, or the hilt / his arm itself doesn't have a calculation for damage because his arm went through me. The blade was kind of in front, so it didn't count, obviously. But I don't know if that was because of mounting the ladder. Very, very lucky there. Not too lucky in the room with the bodies, but we got everything we needed to go to the lowest level. Now it's just the dinos in the water that are a little scary. Pro tip, don't grab anything from the water. Just run straight to the Dragonstone like we did this time. You got Jester Thomas trying to roast us with atomic meatballs in the background, and he does in fact catch up to me. He did even kill me at least once or twice trying to get over here, but dude, his aim is so bad, you know? Like, look at this aim. It's not getting better, he just keeps hitting the wall. So I'm just big chilling now. I'm not even afraid of Jester Thomas. I feel like he just wanted to make it into the major league, but he could not pitch straight, unfortunately. He had the ball speed, you know, he was hitting some crazy speed on his throw, but just the accuracy was terrible. Now we got the secret bonfire right before we get to Alana later, so I'm gonna just hit that up, save it, and then back to Cloanne, who now does actually have large Titanite shards for 2,500, which is great. So Manscorpion Tark earlier when we were going to that cursed jar area was the point of interest, but now we can actually kill him. The ghost is no longer a threat. We took him out as well. He's got second dragon ring. Second dragon ring is gonna boost my health a little bit, but mainly I want it for the endurance and equip load, because again, equip load I can't level as well as health, and then endurance is always super valuable in this game because it's such a aggressive stat when it comes to consumption. Like, you can't really make it that lenient at all. Everything consumes a lot of endurance, and increasing it is very marginal. You don't really see much of a difference at all from me putting the ring on, which absolutely sucks, but I promise you it's still a little bit better just from the equip load side of things. And with that, we can open Shrine of Winter immediately and go right into Drangley Castle. But not without another Royal Soldier trying to interrupt. Dude, I think it's just because I was talking shit about them earlier, they just all show up at bonfires now. Speaking of which, Stone Soldier gets taken out so we can go through the door over here with his brother also gone in the wake of destruction. Frozen Flower being picked up for the 3rd DLC, and then the secret bonfire that's probably not so secret to you guys, that's underneath the staircase for Dragon Riders, is pretty important too, because I wouldn't want to rerun all of that and then have Forlorn invade me in between. Wouldn't be a big deal if Forlorn didn't exist at all. A lot of these runbacks would be fine, but we don't want to increase the chances. While we're here, we can drop down right below and get what I think is the best bow in the game. You could say great bows could be better, crossbows like Evelyn could be better, but Hunter's Black Bow with the S scaling is insane, so I'm gonna grab that one. Immediately just running off to where the podium is to get Dragon Rider to hit the other one down right away, because I thought that'd be cooler to show off. And on that second swing, we dodge the back end of it, and we kill Dragon Rider number 2 before the other dude can even do his second attack after the first combo. That's crazy. That's basically what happens when everything's cooking when it comes to damage and all that, but it's another method you can do to get him down immediately without having him snipe you from above on the podium about half the fight or so. Eventually, he will get down himself. You could shoot him with an arrow from the gate, but I wanted to do it the classic way, just purely melee. And another thing that didn't work out as well, purely melee, was the mannequin room. So I go for that, dude, that's crazy. I go for that swing and I miss. He does the Wolverine attack on me, the Wolverine special, almost kills me. There's still 2 alive right here, which is super problematic, because they could do that again. I get shimmied to the side of the one, but like the one side of my blade hits the guy for a counter hit that kills him. And luckily he's the one that has the soul that powers the golem. So even if whatever reason, you know, we died there, we'd still probably be okay to run back or just wait in the other room. But I'm glad I didn't die, because I want this chest right here. This is going to be the old Knight Hammer, and that's a good one. Very, very good chest to grab. I noticed that Cursebro hadn't brushed his teeth in a while, so, you know, this isn't sponsored by Crest or anything, but I am going to brush my teeth right here. Oh, I forgot to put the toothpaste on. What am I even doing, dude? All right, so we're going to put some toothpaste on. We got grape. He can't really reach the other side of his teeth, but the front looks really good. Another chest over here. I'm going to let you guys name these chests for each item. Key to King's Passage chest. What's the name of the relative? I came up with as many creative names as I could in the beginning, but my brain's getting tired trying to make names. So you guys make names for all the chests in the comments if you want, and you can just tag the item beside it that was in the chest. Looking Glass Knight, pretty simple, do a lot of damage to him, and like I said before, if he's in the lightning phase of attacks, he'll more than likely consecutively do them. He'll be more likely to chain them together, and that gives you so many big openings. But I'm not gonna lie though, he did kill me the first time I went in the arena. It was so quick that I didn't think it was important to include really for any reason whatsoever, but very standard fight. We've seen a lot of them lately, especially on that randomizer. He popped up twice the last time I did the game. So let's just leave him in the dust. So let's grab the Bonfire Ascetic in the chest over here and the Spell Quartz Ring +2. And now back in Drangley Castle over here after we've touched down in Amana. We have this Scion chasing me over to Chancellor Wellinger. I wanted some arrows, but flick of the wrist first, and straight to the chin goes the stabby stab. So Chancellor Wellinger gives us hundreds of the lightning arrows. He gives us quite a few of the magic ones too. I would say the magic ones are almost the best in the entire game for most scenarios, with Dark being very close, depending on which resistances you're looking at for certain bosses, but for all enemies and everything. Magic is so good that even against enemies that are magic related, they still do good damage. PvP-wise, I would say I would only use magic for the most part as well. I wouldn't be switching it unless I was getting super nitty-gritty on reading the defenses of the armor that people have. And that's a sweaty level of PvP I don't want to think about right now. Speaking of sweaty, Archdrake's chasing me all the way to the first fog gate because I just decided to run through Amana. Why not? The second part's going to be a bit of a different approach. I'm not going to be completely stupid the whole time, but will I make it here though? We have slightly upgraded endurance when it comes to the levels. We've put in very, very little, but when it comes to the actual items boosting it, we got second Dragon Ring from Tark, Chloranthy +1, that's helping quite a bit, and a light enough equip load from all the items that we're still under 30%. So after we touch down there successfully, which is amazing, I am going to take out the caster that I usually would first over here, but we're not going to go to the right side. I'm going to go on the arch, so in case Forlorn invades me, he can't get to me. And then I'm going to use this pillar right here to take out the rightmost caster. And I still actually have a little bit of cover while I pop shot her. And then right below, these ones are just big chillin'. We just kind of peel off the side, but they're not going to be able to get me anyways because I'll lock them into a combo. And the ones in the distance are equally as nice as well because I can just keep railing shots, but they're not going to move out of the way. The one really far, you could debatably keep this one, but if you want to kill the other caster that's hidden by the time you make it over there, I found it was kind of smart, especially because I'm not really worrying about frogs that are chasing me at the moment. So now we're going to make our break for it and do like a little bit of a hybrid running / tactical maneuver. Get the caster that's in this archway right here. Frog chasing me is high priority because it'll probably chase me forever. Then the other one that wasn't chasing in front of me after this Twinkling Titanite, I'm just going to get out the bow and snipe. And that's actually where I made it to, trying to run without doing any of this. So at least we're being a bit smarter here. I thought it would be nice to show all of Amana because it is a little bit more methodical, but I did it pretty quickly. I'd say maybe even quicker than the regular way where you kill the old knight, you kill all the frogs on the right side, I guess it would be. And so now the caster on the small island that's beside where the hippo would be, after that little frog walk that you do normally, is gone. I don't have to technically kill this last one. I could just go around the outside of the hut if I want to. Thinking about it. Oh, she gave me a dirty look, dude. Okay, I'm going back. Get her. Goodbye, belly button done. See ya. Pop goes the weasel. Man, that R2 on the rapier is brutal. All right, so old Radiant Life Gem right there. Really good for the collection when it comes to super strong healing items for later. Definitely want to save that one for emergencies. And when it comes to this Archdrake right here, I'll pull him over. We'll see if we can kill him with pure arrows as he runs toward us, but see if we get lucky. He might block. Okay, that wasn't too bad. It is drop Twinkling Titanite too, and these are great in case I get something that is Twinkling Titanite reinforced, because I'm getting so many free ones in this area. It's not something super common that always happens, but it is a bonus if you're killing the enemies in Amana, that they will drop stuff that's actually useful, unlike the Archdrake set, which kind of sucks, unfortunately. It looks cool. The stats on it just are not that great, though. So now we're just getting the last few that are actually lethal over here, and to be able to actually do it properly, even though we're going to leave some enemies, the one that heals in particular is not of interest. The ones that cast magic still have to be taken out because they'll trigger the other ones to chase me, and if I trigger one Archdrake but not take out the other, it'll be a big chase as well. So we're not being selective to the most particular degree. We're just trying to take out most of the stuff. Oh, right in the back. Oh, he turned around. He had interest. Almost went for the ankles. Goodbye. And that's most of them on right there. Most of the problem, at least. There was a little bit of like an extra escapade I went through to try to get the item up the little bridge over here, but it wasn't anything too interesting at all. I mistaked it for another item. So we lit the bonfire. Now we're in the other part over here. The rusted iron twin blade. What I would say is probably the actual best item in the game when it comes to weapons, especially when you have infinite time to set up the character. That is something that's over here. So after taking out all of the individual casters and that guy that blocked to infinity that I spared you the details on, Red Iron Twin Blade is ours, as well as the Crystal Homing Soul Mass, which I may use later. So we'll keep those safe for now. Dark Weapon on the rapier, and now it's time for Demon of Song. Hitting Demon of Song's face, just for some reason, is always going to be satisfying. If she was always peeled to the shell 24/7, but way more durable, it wouldn't be the same. It's just something about that. And I can't get that final attack to get the quickest kill that I probably would have ever gotten on her, but it's close. It's very close. That was so fast. Barely even moved from where the starting position was. And now Key to the Embedded's in the inventory. That is a weapon I debated using. Don't think I'm going to necessarily use it too much, but it's a nice alternative on Giant Lord for the moveset if you don't have anything horizontal by then. Right over here, sneaky opportunity to get this guy to turn around from a distance. I find it's way easier than at the end of the hallway that he's in. You can just do it before you get there. And you can almost kill him just straight off this. Now, obviously he could block and you could microchip him down from that last like 10th of health, but I was like, you know, in my head, I heard like, you're a Weenie Hut Jr., and I just went up to him and finished him off with the rapier anyway. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds. So you know in your heart, no matter what, I would have killed him close range and I would have cheesed him no matter what. It does not matter. It would have happened. Both realities are real. Timelines are converging. Just like Aldia's stepping back into our reality again too right here. And I have to give him, you know, a little bit of hype because, again, Curse-Bro's a big fan of his work. He believes in humanity being a fleeting... you know, a fleeting, endless pursuit of desire that is just lukewarm, like Aldia does. And he's lived the truth of that as well from birth with his challenges and triumphs so far. But maybe this whole victory of this saga of the trilogy will change his mind. So even though he is siding with Aldia this whole time and victory spinning, we'll see what happens when he actually faces him off. So we're going to light the crypt bonfire over here, the entrance. Going back to the Seldora bonfire area to light the second bonfire below the first one so that we can actually apply ascetics to it. Instead of killing the spiders down here, they'll block you from actually sitting at the bonfire, so I'm going to light it in Homeward Bone. Then, because we ascetic'd it, we can go get more materials, and this will be great for upgrading the other weapons that we're actually grabbing, such as the Red Iron Twin Blade and the Hunter's Black Bow, as well as some other stuff too. And while we're down here, we might as well kill Freya again. It'd be silly not to. On this Freya, I'm not going to go into detail. We did the same thing as last time. We came, we saw, we conquered. Lasers, enough said. There's not too much to share. And so Freya goes down very quickly, especially because, again, we have Leo Ring with Flynn's Ring from the DLC now as an additional bonus, and Ring of Blades +1. Much better than in a regular NG playthrough. We would never actually have access to those just doing the soul memory 1 million soul route, or even, you know, making time for the DLC so we could save probably a good 20 minutes and not even have to go to the Sanctum City anyways. I also picked up the Grand Lance. You guys weren't looking when I did that, but Grand Lance is also now at +10 as well as the Red Iron Twin Blade. Grand Lance is just outside of where Giant Lord is in Cardinal Tower, very close to Malentia. So that's pretty simple. And with both of those fully upgraded, more Bright Bugs, and some Life Gems stocked up, we're going to go and see if we can challenge Velstadt. Unfortunately, though, I'm running down the hallway. I'm feeling pretty good. We got Dark Weapon on lock with the Rapier, and then Forlorn invades. But he pops up in front of us, though, so we made it to the spot that he normally invades, and he was in the spot we're normally at where we're looking back at him. That's problematic because we can't escape him by running now as easily. We're going to have to actually either pull him through the way we came completely and then do a doohickey, or we're going to have to kill him. So I switched to Red Iron Twin Blade with a crazy amount of confidence, thinking that it actually would work. I have no idea how the poise is going to value on his actual armor set and the setup that he's got. I know in PvP it locks people in pretty decently, but I made the major mistake when it comes to PvP, is that I did an R2 attack with a follow-up without confirmation of anything. That's just a guaranteed recipe for failure no matter what happens if someone knows what they're doing, and Forlorn capitalized on that by killing me. Even though the first bit did connect, it wasn't a combo, so it didn't matter. So, Forlorn killed me, didn't come back the next time, and now we're on to Velstadt. Look at how crazy the Red Iron Twin Blade is on Velstadt with just Lightning Resin. No Bright Bug, nothing else. Melting. Ugh, disgusting, dude. If we had more endurance, which we will in the future, this thing's just ridiculous. And there's a reason why it is the speedrun weapon for all bosses eventually, when you get far enough in the game, but I've never really used it for a whole playthrough, so my experience with it's more limited to PvP. And it's been very satisfying so far trying it out. Vendrick, I'm looking at you. I'm coming back for you later. We're going to see how that works on him as well. We'll grab the King's Ring, and then we do have enough Homeward Bones to escape this time. But while we're waiting for the door to Aldius to open, why not another parry? I think we've made enough side quests now where Cursebro's just completely booked full time. He can't even do birthday parties or weddings anymore. His schedule is complete. We got parries on Cyans on the side. We got the Royal Soldier arc. You know, we got meeting up with the relatives for the family reunion of the metal chests, and then we got, dude. Now we got the Aldia's experiments free from their cage before I trigger them, and you might wonder why that's the case. If you didn't watch the last video I did a randomizer speedrun, and in the randomizer speedrun particularly, what happens is the randomizer makes it harder by allowing all the beasts from Aldia's Keep to unleash themselves from the cage without you triggering them the normal way. So, you know, you see this guy in the cage right now who's my cousin Bobby, actually. He's still alive. He's not even actually just like a relic. He's literally moving still. He's got his body. It's pretty crazy. It's like, you think of like heads in a jar. He has not been put in a jar yet. He's still free. And he doesn't like me. I don't think he remembers because Aldia had his way with him, and he's all contorted. He looks like he's been in the circus for a little bit too. But we'll try to see if we can take out Bobby. He's doing some weird toxic spitting thing. Yeah, he's spitting some garbage at me. Some hot bars, I guess. And as we try to get through Aldia's Keep and, you know, finally actually make it on a nice stretch after many tries, basically the logic is that randomizer frees them from the cage in a weird way that the normal game doesn't. And if I have the randomizer installed still, even if I de-randomize the enemies, that rule will still apply. There's a couple other things that'll happen that'll point out when I see them. So the ghosts is one thing. They make them more colored so you have like a cooler effect to them when you see them up close. And then the enemies are harder in Aldia's Keep. So that did delay us a little bit. There was quite a few deaths, but it's okay. We can die on this game. And this playthrough particularly is fine. Guardian Dragon, I'm really trying to bait head swipes so I can just go in underneath him and get the knees. And I do indeed kill Guardian Dragon super fast, thanks to the Red Iron Twin Blade once again. A fight that I actually really don't like that much. So it's nice to see it done. And it looks like I'm invisibly floating through the air with certain angles of this zip line. Never really paid attention to that before. Oh, hey, look, it's Smaldia. Pocket size for travel. Look at that. Yeah, what's up with that? That's weird. What's going on, mini Aldia? Looking down at Aldia has this weird condescending vibe now. It's like Cursebro's just like the successor here. He was so, like, I guess towering and almost like a monument before. Now he's just like a little collectible. He's like a keychain on our belt. But that's the final time we're going to be speaking to Aldia before we actually see him, so it's okay if he's a little bit more junior. And now we're going to level some faith because we will be needing that in combination with other stuff for better castings later. Gonna get this chest right here for the Bonfire Ascetics. And this is actually pretty impressive in Dragon Shrine that I escaped the trio over here with the Drake Keeper and the dragons chasing me. And as they still keep chasing, I grab the slab from the old wooden chest. Big dude with shield is like, you're dead. So I didn't make it to the doors, unfortunately, and through those doors is none other than the third dragon ring, which is going to boost our health, equip load, and a little bit of the endurance side of things because the endurance container will go up a little bit more as well. But we have to actually open these doors first, and we did. So step 1 done. Now step 2, can we open the chest? Step 2 done. Step 3, can we grab it? Nope. Of course, he's got a slow walk away like he's in a Michael Bay movie with the 2-hand on the sword, but he forgot to actually get it a frame, so like the cool points get reduced by about 40%, so he's not really fully there. That's like a B movie, unfortunately. It was AAA, and then, yeah, unfortunately he got B-listed. So we got the ring on the final attempt right there. It took 3 tries in total in all actuality to get through, which is great, because sometimes it would take me 10 tries to get that ring, and killing them is just not really worth it that much, but mainly because there's a huge chase beforehand and I don't want to kill every dragon guy, just like this part too, where when you're challenged with the duelist that has the 2 swords, I'm always going to run if it's a run where I can die or take damage. Luckily, I made it through that part in particular in 2 tries. That was nice. And now let's see how good Red Rusted Iron Twin Blade is on Ancient Dragon, something I've never combined before, but a classic. With Dark Weapon, not exactly sure if that's the best resistance in terms of like his elemental profile, but it's doing pretty good. We took a big chunk away already just starting up the fight. Ancient Dragon's really simple. All you have to worry about with him is just be between these toes on the right leg. Don't get so spammy that you have no stamina left, and as soon as he jumps into the air, follow his tail by sprinting as fast as you possibly can, which will clear the radius of the fire. And then whenever he recenters himself again, run back into where the toes are as quick as possible. He raises his foot, you roll. That was probably the closest you'll ever want to see yourself getting to it the way I did it right there. But you'll notice on consecutive ones, I do leave a bit more stamina. I leave myself a bit more time to make some space by jogging first and then rolling. The reason being is the visual of his foot is okay to try to dodge, but he's got a gigantic invisible hitbox behind it. And sometimes what'll happen is the attack will animate and the game will calculate that he moved his foot, but then nothing actually happens, you die, and then he moves his foot after you die. So it's not just like a delay of trading with an enemy in a combo, it's literally like the attack's a ghost that happens. He's just standing still, you die from nothing, and then you're dying watching him start to actually raise his foot to do the thing 2 whole seconds later. That's one of the intros of a video that I did quite a while ago, and I believe it was the Great Bow Run specifically. But correct me if I'm wrong, someone can plug the link if you want to see that clip in particular. It's pretty funny. It's one of the worst classic glitches that happens on him. So that's all you're really worried about on this. Very simple. Otherwise, keep spamming between those toes, cleaning out all of the... I don't even know what would be there. I don't know if he can get fungus because he's scaly. And he's so ancient that it's probably all like calcified now and stuff. It's probably all hard. But either way, he dies by the toe. Very unique. I've always thought it would be really interesting to bleed out from the toe or the finger. So at least we see something like that. And now that we're at the King's Gate for Giant Lord, I am trying to control myself enough to not die while I'm going for the last parry on the Cyan that I think I'm going to need to do, because the final King's Gate has a statue that's not animated, so I don't think I need to do it again after this, right? And trust me, as much as I showed you some back and forth there, I was lacking quite a bit on that. I actually almost died 3 or 4 times, so that was embarrassing, but I didn't show that. Now we're in Giant Lord, running straight in there as quick as we possibly can. Twin Blade's putting in great work, even though I'm missing some attacks, though. It's making up for it with the moveset being so all-encompassing. Essentially almost hitting in like an orb. So that's another reason this weapon's cool. It can be the downfall of it when you're trying to focus on a single enemy that's humanoid, but on huge objects, though, I think it's the clear choice of why it's the speedrun weapon. The frequency of attacking, albeit the damage being pretty good, but then also the fact that in every direction on both sides, it's still making contact somewhere in that combo. So we have some spells to rearrange. I wanted to use Sacred Oath that I got from Strayed, which is available after you kill Velstadt and all that. But the thing is, I didn't trade Velstat's soul specifically for it. I didn't want to do that, so I had to go and buy Sacred Oath particularly. And we're going to go and get some more resources from Chloanne now that she's got large shards, chunks, and slabs. And then that could be helpful for upgrading the Hunter's Blackbow in particular. So we're going straight to that. We don't even have it upgraded a single bit, but can we get it fully to +10 immediately? I think we can. We still have 4 slabs in total, not bad. And now it's time to go underneath Drang Lake Castle. So I lit the bonfire under there after opening up the stuff with the stone soldiers. I'm also acquiring Fang Key for Ornifex just in case I need another Flame Butterfly or to buy more, because she has extra in her inventory and 1 in the room. And this is going to be for Dark Lurker later in case I die too many times attempting to light the actual gigantic goblets, but then for whatever reason I die to gravity after, or I forget one of the enemies in the chasms. It has happened before, so Ornifex is great for that. Now we're back in the Gulch, so I can open up one of the sites of the Dark Portals along with the one where Ornifex was that we got the Fang Key over by. And the one that was in Drang Lake Castle is the final one, so out of the 3 of them, we already have our portals open. It's perfect. I almost died from poison here. I was going to eat my words from the beginning. Cannot enter... What the... Enter Covenant... What the... Dude. That's crazy. My brain almost melted seeing that. So basically, yeah, if you are invaded by a phantom, you can't enter. Can't enter the Covenant. So I had to do that again. Now the portal's open, at least. We're not going to use it, though. Just going to use the feather and go back. And we could challenge the end game of the mandatory stuff at this point. So Throne Watcher and Defender are open. They have been for a little bit. It could be enticing to switch up the armor a little bit. because the defense against lightning in particular on this priestess set's great. I want to keep the equip load pretty low though, so I put on the skirt right away. That's at 29%, it's not too bad. And with the rapier and dark weapon, I think we'll put in some quick work in trading back and forth rather than lingering with the heavier weapons such as the Grand Lance or the Red Rusted Twin Blade and getting a little too greedy, since we can't afford that on this one in particular. The health's a bit too low, and an attack from both of them at the same time is death. Counterattack from a buffed weapon on them is death. Possibly even a two-hand buffed attack from Defender would be bad. I don't really want to find that out though, so Throne Watcher and Defender, the main goal is going to be to just bait as many attacks from spacing away from them, and then checking the other one to see what they're doing immediately at the middle of the combo, and calculating how many steps it would take for them to get to you, or if they're backing away at the same time. If you get both of them to attack simultaneously, then just kind of figuring out what the stagger or the delay is between both their attacks initially, and then if it has potential for comboing, and that's it. And then you're just rotating around them, trying to stay away from gravity. There's obviously a lot more nuance once you get into what the attacks particularly are, if there's delayed follow-ups, and also the angles with the walls, but otherwise is just a balance of all those different things. And from there, we have to pray to RNGesus that we're getting some pretty good luck. But so far, so good. Throne Watcher on her backflip is going to take crazy counter damage, so if you can squeeze in a running attack and make a good prediction she's going to backflip, that's amazing. But sometimes you don't have to predict. You can actually stand beside her, anticipate another regular attack or a combo, and then turn an attack as she's in the middle of starting the backflip, and that'll still be a great counter from stationary. So there's a little bit of a mix of that in there too. Defender has another stance that he goes into from the default where his shield is only kind of like diagonally tilted. That means he can still take attacks, but he's not actually blocking. It doesn't do anything really. It's like a half block. It's really weird. So keep that in mind, but know that if he's in that stance, for him to swing right after he's in that stance might just be really quick. You know, it's not going to be the same as him recovering from an attack or backing up. And we're doing a really good job of basically maneuvering and outweighing the pros and cons here. This wouldn't even be something I would consider greedy at all. There's been some predictions, but they're so clean that I think I could escape the repercussions of them anyways. And that right there, that was an amazing run back and punish on the backflip. You start to get the feel for the timing of when she tends to do it the most often, to the degree where if you were to recover and then she didn't do it and she went to attack into a three-piece, you'd still have enough stamina to escape anyways, and Defender still wouldn't be lethal because you'd be paying attention as you're running back in. So that's the ultimate trade-off there, is that if you can basically check off on all those timings, you know that you are skill-based still, and if you can't, then you're just hoping that at some point in one of three of those areas, you get lucky. Little scoop-de-doop trying to scoop me off the ground. Are you trying to sweep me off my feet, Watcher? Just, okay, Valentine's Day is not happening. That's already passed. Wait till next year. And as you see Watcher die, usually she would go down to her knees and Defender would try to heal, or vice versa. Another effect of this randomizer that I had done before being installed still, but the enemies being de-randomized back to vanilla, is that Throne Watcher and Defender permanently die when you kill them. But because I killed them so fast, it doesn't matter if it's this way or the other way around. It would be just as easy. Also, Nishandra pops up by like a flash of the screen right away, so even though that was a continuous clip, it looks like it was edited where it just kind of jitters. It just skips the cutscene for her, essentially. These are just other features that you see when you have the randomizer installed, but it's turned off. Back to Seldora to get some more items once again. More upgrade materials, why not? And yet another Freya fight. The materials were more to just grab in case. Freya was more of the target this time to get more souls so I could level and keep up with the difficulty curve of the game, as well as some other consumable items like keeping life gem stock constantly. And you're going to see a few more of these occasions, eventually with the inclusion of me farming Giant Lord, because he actually has a bonfire ascetic inside his own arena. And now that we have more attunement, we can put on the Sacred Oath spell. Sacred Oath is going to boost our attack, which is great. And that's just generic, so I believe that even the bow will actually go up. And now we're down at the lizard hole underneath Cardinal Tower, trying to get the key to the second DLC. But I'm not going in the way that you normally would with the iron key from the area before Smelter Demon. We're actually going to do a little bit of like a speedrun skip through the hole in the wall here. This took me way longer than I want to admit, but I cut out a lot of that just so you guys didn't have to sit through it. So this is the second last try, and here we go. 3, 2, 1, liftoff. You can even tell how long it took because I just sit there for a second just thinking. And there's the heavy iron key. Amazing. Back to Giant Lord, like I was saying, so we can get some more souls. And I'm trying the Grand Lance out for the first time over here. Pretty good damage, man. Leo Ring coming in clutch with Flynn's Ring still on. Doing minor detail to the actual damage now because our equip load is boosted a lot since the Grand Lance is heavy. But it still counts for what it's worth. And I think the best thing we could have done is maybe have Lightning Clutch Ring combined, but I didn't grab that yet. I was debating if I even wanted Clutch Rings, considering they make you take even more damage, and we don't really want that. But lick the Grand Lance. See how that lightning tastes. Yummy. Attunement goes up a little bit more, and debating some other stats here. Endurance just seems like the only other surefire bet, while Emerald Herald's just facing the other way. And then Bowman Guthrie over here and I have a little bit of a shootout in Doors of Pharos. He's got a crossbow, so he thinks he's pretty cool. This is basically the equivalent of when you roll up at the recreational paintball field, and people that play Division 3 speedball think you actually don't play paintball and you're using some sort of Planet Eclipse, like, you know, non-ramping, non-automatic marker that's kind of like a speedball gun, and you have a feeder that's not even electronic, and you still kick their ass, and they're like, that guy's sliding, what the hell? And then you're playing Snake on hyperball fields that don't even have snakes, and just screwing them up. Some of you know what I'm talking about. If you don't, then I'm sorry. That was probably a more inside reference. We're taking out Royal Rat Authority's dogs in a similar fashion first with some sniping skills, and then we're going to go for Authority's kneecaps as much as possible because that seems to be the only safe spot. And Authority's pretty bad in the sense that its animations, especially on this little dash away right here, are super goofy. I've gotten used to it because I have practiced him a crazy amount of time to catch up on how little I've played this fight, seeing as it's one of my least favorites. But similar to Covetous Demon, again, I don't like it, so I tend to not play as hard on it. Thankfully, I like it a little bit more than Covetous Demon, though. It's just slightly more engaging, just still unfortunately terrible, and he can vomit all over the floor, too, which he was about to do at the end there. That pool that forms will kill me pretty quickly, or at least, you know, it'll delay the fight a lot. But now that he's dead, I'm just going to admire the architecture that came from the fathers before us in Doors of Pharos. And then I realized I've never gone out of the arena this way before, and I'm not even joking with you guys. I thought that rat in the hole right there was an enemy, but then I realized it was the Covenant. This is actually how true what I'm saying is. Not rage bait, not clickbait. I swear on my life, I actually had no idea the dude was there. Like, and then I fall back into regular Doors of Pharos over here, and I have to take a second to be like, where the hell was that? So yeah, that felt like it was DLC basically that never came out for the game for me personally, but very embarrassing that I shot the rat and I had to leave it in just to show the honesty. And on another note, now we're doing all the memories of the giants to get some giant souls so that actually going to kill Vendrick's a little bit easier and we do more damage. He takes more damage each consecutive giant soul you possess in your inventory. So first this memory, and it's pretty quick, it's short-lived, but I was debating falling down here with the cat ring and even using fall control as well, but you know, Curse Bro was like, dude, you're just completely stupid, don't do that, that's just dumb. And Curse Bro is adventurous, he's pretty reckless, but even he knows, don't do that. So I went over here to this side where the bridge was, I see the item, I'm like, okay, they want you to go down this way, it's progression highlighted, and there's even a string with a little board suspending it. Take my time to figure out if that's going to be a trap or whatever, and I'm just suspended here being like, have I ever really been here before? Like, I've played this memory, but did I go down this way? I can't remember. So that's a debatable one. I might have actually been on this board many times, but who knows? Then I go down to this wooden roof and take another gander for a second as feeling like this is fresh DLC that's never been released before. And as one soul of the giants acquired, we go on to the next. So this memory is a little bit harder. This one requires you to escape the little cave, and there's the poison hand guy, etc. Some mini demons, or mini giants that are almost demon-like, with this gigantic one thrusting through the staircase, almost taking me out as I go up. But I decided to leave him. I've already fought Giant Lord, seen enough of those guys. We just pick up the items over here on the corner and then get the other giant soul to continue onward. And we have some giant souls now. We did some more stuff too, but that's the gist of it. We're gonna go and level up endurance. And Vendrick now is accessible enough where the damage should be great. So Sacred Oath gets cast, and Dark Weapon, of course, on Twin Blades, great combination. It is actually infused with a Dark Gem as much as, you know, it's gonna limit us for certain enemy types. It's gonna do a little bit more damage on top of the fact I'm putting a dark casting on it and stacking that. So that's cool. I had left it uninfused for a while, but now it's just hitting crazy damage. And the fact that we could hit Vendrick and activate the fight that fast is something I don't believe I've seen in the last 5 to 10 years of playing this game. Like maybe on the first playthrough or maybe on like NG plus whatever, after I'd already had the build set up a while. But dude, like on all the characters, all the runs we do, he doesn't just activate from hitting him like once. That is absolutely awesome. So we're shredding his kneecaps so much right now that the surgery he would need to fix this is irreparable. Like it's not going to happen. So we might as well just take him out of his misery at the same time, get that Silver Serpent bonus, and yeah, now we're back on to Nishandra. So I'm going to use Sacred Oath once again, as it's going to be my next favorite spell in line to Dark Weapon. But Nishandra is dark, so Gold Pine Resin on the Rapier makes more sense, and it is not infused yet. It's just straight up, so it can actually have resins applied still. She thought Curse would do something to me. Dude, she doesn't even know who she's dealing with. I'm just gonna pop a big ass old life gem and just sit back in front of your face while I destroy you, and the Curse does nothing. Now, this is very cocky because I could die here still. I could still have the health drain be my demise, or even a laser that's a little bit late timed with me strafing get me. But I wanted to flex pretty hard on Nishandra by just standing right in front of her and do a speedrun type kill. And Curse Bro is the perfect person to do that, seeing as he is one with the curse even deeper than she's ever understood. So Nishandra just got like a little bit of a jack-in-the-box surprise right there. Pop goes the weasel kind of stuff. And now Aldi is trying to talk to me, trying to convince me one last time to join him. But, you know, I'm just going to leave. I'm not ready to have that conversation yet. You know, there's some emotional stuff underlying this whole relationship and our differences at this point of the adventure. So back to Strayed. And we can go and get Sunlight Blade from Strayed, which actually rhymes. That's pretty cool. I was thinking of using a Bonfire Ascetic on the Drang Lake Castle Bonfire to get the Ring of Blades +2. I was heavily debating not doing it, but I decided to. And now both the Pursuers will show up in the throne room where Nishandra and Vendrick's thrones lie, protecting them until they return, I guess. Did some damage on the first one. The real method of how you actually try to kill them, the easiest, is you have to separate them. But the only way to separate them is to make one of them swing over the boundary of where they despawn, allowing him to still be active while you're fighting him, just like I did right here. The other one will now despawn and I could just fight one at a time, but I have to do that every single time if I do die. And it's really hard to separate their AI and then make sure they go over that boundary with an attack that doesn't send them too far or doesn't not, you know, essentially sync up with what you're doing. So this took many tries. I actually had other attempts where I got one-on-one, and then what happened at the end of the first one-on-one fight was it lingered on too long, and he did this really rare attack that I forgot was in the game that is an AoE with dark orbs and stuff, and it looks really cool, but I don't have that clip to show you right now. I'm sure you guys could find it if you want to see. But yeah, it's not the beam that's blue that he does, which is also another rare magic attack that the regular Pursuer, I believe, can also do. But it is a dark magic attack that I believe only this one is able to, maybe the other ones that have the red eyes. And now that that Pursuer is down, we have one more to go. He's going to give us a little Twinkling Titanite. So Sacred Oath, get buffed up again. I'm trying Twin Blades on this one. Probably wasn't the best play though. Rapier is more DPS with the openings and the style of the fight. So even though Twin Blades would be better for a lot of things, this one's not best served that way. I try it anyways though. Don't get grabbed by the blue attack. And you could just strafe that, which is nice. So even though we're using so much stamina with this Twin Blade, the little scraps that do come back allow me to space again, and then I'm hoping for lunges where I can just circle them. Otherwise, I'm not really getting a lot of headroom to swing. It's very fleeting, and that's why, again, Rapier it would have already been able to squeeze in a couple because of the consumption. And also equip load too. I'd be under 30%, so my roll distance would be further. So many factors going into it that would make it a lot easier when escaping, but we got him. And Ring of Blades +2 is now ours. It's such a marginal difference. I'm going to show you guys. It's terrible. So compared to Ring of Blades +1, if I go to the actual stats page right here, you see attack. And when we get there, 600 versus 607, 7 points more. Absolute bananas, dude. That's just such a stupidly low increase, but I did it though. And the cost of doing that's greater than just having to fight the Pursuers, which you're going to see later. I'm going to leave the rest as just an obvious point that you probably already know in your head, but if you don't know what that means, you'll see. Alana immediately summons Velstadt when I go back to her chamber in the Sanctum City. And I'm like, you know, I just fought Velstadt not too long ago. I don't really feel like fighting him again, and I don't even care if he's gold. That's fine. I'll leave him. He can just run around like a dog in the yard, and I'll fight Alana one-on-one. But she's kind of playing hard to get on her own level of witchcraft and wizardry, which means that basically me trying to actually get an opening is not as easy as it seems. She'll teleport. And with the teleportation, we got Lingering Flame Explosions. We got swings that come in from a distance that swing her closer to you, that are harder to predict because you're not actually baiting the attacks particularly the same way as you normally would. Well, Velstadt's still lowering the bell chime on your ass from far away. It probably weighs a good 700 pounds. I don't know how the guy lifts it. Maybe that's why they made him gold, because he is just a champion. He could actually literally just be related to Metal Mario from some sort of dark dimension where people have Full Metal Jacket on permanently. Who knows? All right, so Lingering Flames are mainly just the higher priority here, because if you do get tripped up in one of those, that's going to be a death most likely, especially on a counter hit, especially on a partially revived hit from Velstadt where we're in life gem recovery. And now it's mainly just playing with scraps. So I'm going for running attacks on the Twin Blade, which is ugly. You don't really want to do that on a Twin Blade. You want to spam combos. That's where it shines. And right here, I wanted to greed so badly, guys, but dude, something came over me that told me not to, and I would have been dead right there. But keep in mind, this is actually the first and only attempt on Alana. This actually is so good that I'm like, okay, I think that's what's carrying this here. If I had gotten greedy there and gone back, the morale would have lowered so much that the mistakes I would have made after would have been absolutely ugly. So thank God, now we're on Sin. And I forgot how to play Sin, so he dive bombed me. A little bit rusty, so yeah. Let's try to avoid any kind of dive bombs and just the basic attacks. Pretty simple. So strategy on Sin's always just been trying to get some headshots as he does his bob and weave inward and tries to check you with his head. The fly-ins are very simple. You just kind of space yourself ahead of time and make sure that the monuments that are ahead of you aren't blocking, that you can kind of like swerve around them, or you just change the direction if you notice them immediately. And then when it comes to toxic balls, jumping away from them when running helps a lot more than rolling. Unless you have to do one last second, then the iframes can be okay. And as long as you're directing specifically your movement away from where the residual toxic clouds are from the fireballs, you kind of make this spread across the map where you leave pockets and you're able to still fight him, and they will decay in sure time, you know, or in due time, sorry. All right, here we go. We got a little bit of a pinch here with those toxic clouds, but as you see, this one's going to be fading right around the perfect time. So there again, I did kind of space him out enough ahead of time to have enough land to work with. And that bite that he does with his head there is really nice, because the follow-up from it gives you a free R2 if you can actually know what's happening. You get a counterattack, and you do an R2 early as he's just about to finish the snap of it, and you swing back into the distance, and then you still have perfect positioning to go for more attacks right after. But ideally, you want him to breathe fire in a linear fashion straight up. It's so hard to get him to do it for whatever reason. If anyone's better at doing that, you can tell me what I did wrong in this fight, but you're just wanting him to breathe fire straight in front of you the whole time. This is not something I got a lot of in this particular fight, even almost getting toxic right here trying to escape him, but hey, I'd rather have that than anything else, because we're still alive. We could use a really big life gem or Elizabeth mushroom if we had to, even though I don't think I have mushrooms on me right now. You know, you could grab one and you could stack that and an old radiant life gem. Could also be super smart and just use something that clears toxic like Divine Blessings or Dragon Charms, but dude, kneeling down for a Dragon Charm in a DLC fight is like seeing Santa Claus actually delivering your presents as an adult. Like, that's just something that doesn't happen. And if it did, then, I mean, you might be on some sort of hallucinogenic experience. But again, like the death that I had before, that was the same lineup, but we actually framed his roll-in, showing that you can actually not just specifically space the dive, but you can frame the very end of it as his feet hook your head. So that's amazing. Something I didn't actually know about. I played this fight for a long time, practiced it, got it down perfectly consecutively and somewhat consistently, and then I still had no idea you could iframe his feet. Because, for example, Calamite on DS1, very hard to do that. You kind of can, but it's very similar. It's actually not that much different at all. Just those hitboxes in this game feel almost cheap. Now that he's done a little bit of the extra fire that's linear, the flying time hasn't been so bad on the back end of the fight, but he's getting back into it again. And again, we just want flames. We just want something. Even the neck swipe with the bite follow-up right after has 2 engagements every time he lands is perfect, because you really can't do anything when he's in the air. This fight is almost notoriously hated for that, for the fact that he dictates a lot of the pace by being airborne with no action, no progression. But see how far away I was there? Maybe that's the ticket. Maybe it's just as simple as that. Victory spins for celebration that most of the DLC is done. I mean, I would love to just say the DLC is done at that point, but it's not actually legitimately. We're gonna have to come back and do one more fight. And before we actually even try to think about when we're doing that, intelligence gets leveled up a little bit more, right into the second DLC, which we've set up, and I get stuck on a ladder. Curse Bro, what are you doing? Maybe he needs a break. It's possible he might need to rest a little bit. I'm gonna throw some skulls off the ledge right here before I even go down into the first area with this ashen statue acting as a platform. That was pretty cool, actually. I forgot that I did that. Yeah, just Goomba stomp the ashen statue, because it can't move, it doesn't have legs. Things with multiple arms that have no legs you can step on as hard as you want and no one can stop you. Like Geodude ass motherfuckers, like just step on them, please. We're gonna put skulls everywhere all over this DLC as much as we can and keep buying more. And basically, if you think of the illegal skull trade that we're basically funding from the cat and everything, Shalquire is gonna be a mob lord in no time. Probably moving into a penthouse very soon because of the supply that we're actually purchasing. We're gonna be the #1 customer, and we might even outsource and start dealing some skulls too, but for now, we're just slinging them like no tomorrow, because most of the enemies in this DLC like skulls. Same thing with the first DLC, and then third DLC, it's even more. So I don't even know how many skulls I went through in the entirety of this. You could use Yearn if you wanted to, of course. Curse Bro is cursed, so he has to use a version that's a little bit worse. That's just a rule I made up on the spot because I thought it made more sense. And I was just too silly to go and buy Yearn right away. Just like this Fume Sorcerer almost killed me from behind, but luckily that was one of the smarter moments there. Speaking of which, went down the stairs because this guy was blocking the other hallway, and then we scooted around after to get the fog gate when he went down the stairs. I don't know who that arrow was from, though. Wherever that arrow came from, we need an ID on that one. That was weird. So we're hitting the Minotaur Monument over here to get some flames going on the Fume Sorcerers, seeing as they are electrified with bolt action, like, you know, these like weird lightning spells. They should actually be on fire, technically, if their name is Fume Sorcerer. They need some fumes. So we give her some fumes. There's another one that's gonna be basically just inhaling the vapors of the fumes of the first one. And still trying to shoot me from the wall, so we have some pop shots back and forth. That one is a little harder to take out, but then the actual smelter giant that chases me is kind of funny here. We run all the way back to the beginning, and then I realized the entire time I was playing this game, there is a method specifically for this smelter giant. And I think it's guaranteed. I'm pretty sure 100% of the time you could pull it off if you get him to this spot. But the game basically plays itself, and you have to be patient enough because he runs back to me over here and I'm not quite spaced far enough away for it to work. But as he peels back around the corner with enough of a distance, he walks himself right into the Minotaur. And friendly fire it's turned on. Friendly fire 100% is turned on for this. I don't know why. Look at that. He just showers himself in fire, but he stands still though. He doesn't move. He literally stands still until he dies from his own actions there. I wasn't really aware of that, but that's funny though. I'm sure you guys probably have seen it. Very entertaining for me. I had a good laugh when I was playing. Now we're gonna go to the area where we can actually use the smelter scepter specifically and activate the middle area of the DLC. Quicksword Rachel invades, but with fall control, we can fall off the side right here, not even fight her. And by the time she even makes it down, it doesn't matter. Even the exploding guys in this room could kill you if you wanted to. If you have a big soul count, then I would say get the feather ready and then just feather in the corner where I run to right away. But scepter inside of the slot, and then I'm waiting to just die here because I think it would be cool. This would be the moment in the action movie where, you know, Curse Bro basically makes a sacrifice and everybody survives. And speaking of which, Garrison Key on the cliffside with the giants right there or not garrison key, sorry, the tower key for Iron Passage. Same kind of function. It's for the bonus area of this DLC. So similar to garrison key, but the tower key in particular is grabbed. And then Smelter Giant number 2 gets some revenge for the first one that I was memeing on, because apparently they're friends. And now I just try to throw my skulls and make it through this area gracefully, but, you know, Iron Passage really just is hard. It do be like that, man. It do be like that indeed. I've never had a bolt through my ankle, or great arrow if you want to call it that large. Let's just say there's no room for it to fit inside your ankle, so your ankle literally just gets taken out of your leg completely. Curse Bros was feeling kind of like jelly while I was running after that. Now we're on Blue Smelter. It's similar to the other Smelter, but in the sense that a little bit faster moveset and mix-ups. I swear the sword is also longer when he buffs up. You can tell me if I'm wrong about that, but I actually think his sword does get longer. He does more damage, obviously, has more health. He has an explosion that kills you on the transition, so you can't just stand beside him when you're actually having him power up. And then, because of this, I use some poison. I'll try to cast Sacred Oath on an actual attack recovery opportunity rather than before the actual fight. And then I have my buff going already. And I do as much damage as I can until we have to go into the poison phase. And we're still playing it very carefully with melee. But poison's super, super helpful, so... Look how much damage I'm doing right here, too. So this is where that explosion right there just takes you out, and normally we'd be able to hang around there for the regular Smelter Demon. But 15 ticks a second, not bad. Probably doesn't look like much, but in a lot of the other games where the health pools are scaled up more, proportionate to what poison is in this, it is actually a pretty fast tick. And I'm going for regular poison throwing knives and the dung pies. I'm not sure if they're gonna stack at all. I haven't tried that before. I've only gone with one or the other on this, but I had it in mind that maybe they would both activate. The number looks exactly the same, but even if we just danced around the outside of the arena at this point, he would die of natural causes, surely. And I'm using any plunge opportunity to heal or rebuff. Everything else is just a no-go at this point, because he could come in with a really fast attack out of nowhere. You could argue that the slam with 2 hands would be enough. I just don't trust it in case he goes into something else that's a pretty wide radius, and I just get caught off guard a little bit, because he did get me with a thrust when I was healing with a life gem originally very, very quickly, and that has so many different mix-ups of speeds. Alright, so Blue Smelter Demon, no problem. Did I put on the Rat Covenant ring there? What the hell was that? I don't know if I switched the right ring. Anyways. Going down, 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 down as low as we can go. And now we're near Fume Knight. And we can use the Smelter Wedge to get rid of the Ashen Idols that are healing him around the outside of the arena. So rinse and repeat for quite a few of those. And let's see how Fume Knight likes the Grand Lance with Dark Weapon. Hitting him with quite a few attacks right away before he can even do anything. And something really interesting in this fight happens. I don't know why. But we'll discuss it, I guess, in the comments later if you guys have any insights. Basically, everything's going fine. You know, we're doing phase 1. I'm doing quite a lot of counter damage, and it's very to the wire here too. Like, he does hit me. Luckily, he doesn't get a kill off of that basic attack, and I'm thinking, okay, phase 2, anything lands, huge chance of death. And not only to mention that, though, you can't really get back and regroup from some of the combos or the orbs that are spiraling after he summons those too. So I'm just trying to get a feel for like the basic moveset. And then, if I remember correctly, he just doesn't go phase 2. I don't know why. Like, phase 2 should be something that's health breakpoint related, and maybe there's an expert in chat that could tell me this, but why does he not go phase 2? I don't remember ever seeing this in my life. I know you can make him go phase 2 early, but we literally had a pure phase 1 Fume Knight. It could be the amount of damage I'm doing, literally, but like, again, even then, on damageless runs, you're doing close to that much damage and you're dealing it a little quicker when it comes to the rapier. So even though the hits each time aren't as chunky, it's like, it's close. Speaking of, you know, damage, man, she needs some lotion. Holy shit. All right, now we got to go get Life Ring +3, Smelter Demon number 3. I'm not counting some of the other ones we saw out on the Ashy Plains. They're peasants compared to the ones that are the supreme security of the interior of this contraption that is the Iron King Castle. So we got life ring +3 after many shenanigans with this guy killing me in the corner. As you can see, the soul that outlines the scene of the crime. And then we got every single copy of Predator from every movie that ever released with no alien in sight other than us looking scraggly, trying to run to the bonfire after dudes literally got so much practice against the xenomorph, and there's like 7 copies of him. And I'm trying to get into the Sir Alone fight here. Luckily, I got in contact with the armor, and then they just miraculously disappear because of cutscene movie magic. And now I'm just taking out a bunch of Alone Knights with the bow. Very boring to get into Alone Knight, or sorry, the Sir Alone fight specifically, and take out the Alone Knights, but I got a little bit more creative with it. I rushed to this passage many times on all the attempts. I would take out all the ones that were funneling back into here through the entrance, and then I would try to trigger the other ones from the far side to loop back around as a safe spot. And that was actually good enough to get almost all of them. And then just the lizard and the ones below, and we're already in the fight. So, Twin Blades with Dark Weapon once again. It's kind of weird on Sir Alone because he's so fast that you'd think you'd never be able to get a combo on him, but I do indeed get a couple. I can't go full on, like all the stamina gets unloaded, and I'd love to see what would happen, but because we're not getting staggers or anything, it's not safe, and I'm actually very impressed with the damage either way. This is one of those fights where out of anything in the DLC, I should be the best at him out of any other boss because I have played him a lot. I have gotten the seppuku kill on him quite a few times. In fact, even on this run right here, I'm pretty sure we did get the seppuku kill, but he doesn't do it because my health is decreasing from Symbol of Avarice, so I'm pretty sure this is a damageless fight. And the sad part is we actually screwed it up, so you would have seen him do the animation where he kills himself at the end. But yeah, it's I guess it's like a curse bro flex in a way, so no excuses for why the Red Iron Twin Blade or the Grand Lance would be hard to play against alone. I have used bigger weapons on him. Only thing that I would say would be like a little bit overkill would be the smelter hammers, dual smelter hammers, like the double chicken wing build. I don't know about that. That's crazy. Gotta appreciate the clean floors over here. And then I'm gonna check out his view. I've never really paid attention to it. It looks orange. A lot of orange. And I guess this is where he goes to the bathroom, but I don't know where the stuff gets evacuated, so we're just gonna go pick up the smelter wedge from there and continue. Third DLC is already open because we did crack Shrine of Winter to be able to get in During Light Castle, so right back to the fountain over there. Starting up with the first bonfire on Outer Wall. And I was telling Curse-Bro, put on some more clothes, man. You're gonna be cold in this area. Look at so chilly, dude. He's just like, you are approaching Lois to turn back. I don't want to turn back. I am okay. I don't need a jacket. And he's so fucking cold, man. He doesn't want to admit it. Oh, don't lick the ice, dude. It's contaminated. No, dude. You should know this from Irithyll. He got stuck. Okay, now you're gonna be stuck all day. He's just gonna be stuck all day, man. He can't play the DLC. He's stuck. Thank God, man. He almost Christmas storied us again. If you guys haven't seen that movie, stupid kid gets his tongue stuck on a pole. I think he's just a big fan of that scene, and he thinks he can just get away with it, and that it's unrealistic, but then look what happened. That's pure ice, man. There was just a blizzard in front of the guy that spawned out of nowhere. He was in the eye of the storm. Crazy. All right, so as missiles are flying overhead and more skulls are flying through the air than the missiles, we can evade those at least and get through the first little bit of Ilium Lois. Again, skulls are actually a really good call on every single enemy in the beginning. There's one dog in particular in the room we were just in. Kind of half likes the skulls, doesn't fully like the skulls, but it doesn't matter. It actually did get distracted. And I like the bonfire, but Forlorn pops out of nowhere. He just drops right from below me. This is where we get our rematch, though. Red Iron Twin Blade, does it put in work this time? And it's also a mirror match from before. So he has the Reaper weapon, the Forlorn Scythe. We can actually get a really good test to see will we have won. It looks like I'm doing pretty good combos so far. Everything's fine. I'm actually getting good engagements with the first attack and following up, but then he gets spaced back a little bit too much from blocking and having the stagger. And then look at this. How the hell did the guy break out of the stun? I need Stone Ring or something like that. I'm calling bullshit on that one. You know, you could say Copium, but anyways, back to the cat to get more substances to throw through the air that the enemies are attracted to. More skulls. Dude, that's just like... I'm mad about that Forlorn. I can't believe it. I'm just going to be salty and talk about it for an extra couple seconds. Now we got Alsana, or Aya the Priestess over here that we got to grab with the warning. but I'm still gonna grab it. Basically, if you get to an altar and there's golden glowing light and a relic that's on top of it with something telling you that's invisible not to grab it, you have two choices. You could not grab it and probably live and have the same life you've always had before, or you could grab it, and if you are alive to tell the story of what happened, you could probably make a game or a movie off it at least and retire, but then you just have to always be worried about being chased by ghosts. Like right there. See, they say go back. They tell you not to do this. And then you find yourself fighting a gigantic tiger in the middle of a blizzard. Come on. And then you just have that happen to you. No one wants that happening. All right, round 2 on Ava. One of my favorite fights, so there's not really an excuse to do poorly on it. And I would say I even got lucky right there, because she could have pivoted and done that swipe that killed me the first time again. I think Cursebro's brain was just getting a little bit tired at this point of the adventure, with so much stuff behind us at this point. And when I say so much stuff, it really did take a long time to do this run. I'm not joking. You're only seeing glimpses, but at least I wanted to contribute at least as much of the action as I could, so you could get the gist of that, because that's the important part. So with Ava, biggest thing on the roll-ins, you just go for the back leg, and then you look for the rotational swipes. Missiles stay far away, wait till they release, and then run in a straight direction, lined up with the left or right side of them. AoE, you can just circle around and you could try to like hit her as she fades. The spike one out of the ground, for what that's worth, and the regular bubble AoE, you just stay far away, pretty easy. Now we got Grand Cathedral open, more stats to level up. So I think we're just throwing in more intelligence there. I'm really trying to get to the point where Dark Fog is usable, which I think needs at least 25 int. And with Elsana contacted over there and her being satisfied with our request, she breaks all the ice in the kingdom, allowing us to free the Lois Knights. My homie, what's going on, dude? He's just like, wait a second. Someone opened the door? He's like, I haven't seen that. Now we're going down to get the second one. I wish I had names for the Lois Knights too. I really don't. I have no idea. So we're just gonna call it night number 1, and then we have the Sonic the Hedgehog hunt that has to happen at the lower part over here. It's kind of unfortunate. These enemies have no redeeming qualities at all. They only look pretty cool, but not cool enough to be enjoyable. Like, they're enjoyable for like 3 seconds the first time you see them. There's nothing else about them that is awesome, and they have properties to them that just make no sense at all. So you just hate to see it, dude. It's basically like watching a loading screen for something to finish that you need to have done to move on to the next step of something that's already mandatory and boring on a computer or whatever. This is just a loading bar, basically. So we're doing a loading bar hunt of Sonic the Hedgehog bullshit hedgehog dudes. And then there's this Wraith dude over here, which is a little bit more enjoyable, but not much more, as we have Hexer Nikolai in the background sniping us from behind this beam. And he doesn't have a lot of health, but he can actually kill us like within 2 seconds from up there, which is really funny. Luckily I didn't have that happen, but I did entice him to come down to the lower level by getting a headshot from up on the ledge. And then we're gonna pull back and be kind of smart here. So in this corridor, he just kind of goes back and forth frolicking, trying to debate if he wants to advance, and then tries to do a big casting from far away that wouldn't have done much at all, as I finish him off with some arrows and we get the next bonfire. Now we have our other friend that has the Grand Lance over here, the only other guy that uses Grand Lance in all of Drang Lake. And he pretends to be really friendly. He even wears the white ring to make you feel like you're just in the presence of someone nice. And at least the door's opened. You can't fault me there. No copium, the door's opened. And with the doors opened and our Grand Lance friend in the midst of, whatever was behind us over there, because I'm not killing him, more Sonic the Hedgehogs through this cave that is inhabited by another Jabba the Hutt that's blue this time, unlike the original Covetous Demon. I'm not even going to show you that because I don't care about fighting Covetous Demon. Covetous Demon is below Cursebro at this point. And I went off into this other corridor right here to check what this door was. It is indeed a shortcut back to this area, but I hear the Sonic the Hedgehogs rolling around outside, and then there's even more that were chasing me originally in here. So I throw a skull in the middle for both of them, and we go up this little walkway that is the mandatory path. These golems get taken out because they're being animated as I'm taking out the hedgehogs that are in the courtyard over here, and when all of the golems are clear, I take out the residual hedgehogs, and then go up to the Snowball Mountain. Snowball Mountain sucks. As you can see right here, we got Pinecone Man, 2 of them actually. And then you got Hedgehog around the corner, You got Golem with the Rampart Lance, staircases, and then you got a door. Okay, so just enough time to open the door, but what happens after that, though? What if you wanted to just walk down? At least we got the knight. That's all I really need to care about. I only have 10,000 souls, so I'm going to throw a skull and see if I can matrix out of here. Pinecone guy goes around the corner, just misses me as I'm throwing the skull to swing myself out of the way of the tip of his extendo. And then we're throwing more skulls at the bottom of the stairs right here. Pinecone man number 3 comes back around the corner. Hedgehog's already on the roll. I sip Estus because they're stuck on the corner. And now I'm thinking, well, if I wanted to make it all the way back to the other side, I would have to roll the snowball down the hill, but now we're not in the spot where we can do that. So how do we get back home? Curse Bro's out of Estus. Survival seems unlikely. He still needs pants because he's freezing, dude. Raisins don't keep that well in the freezer. I don't care what you say, man. Screw frozen raisins and grapes. And he just decides to take the easy way out. Now we're going back over to where Garrison Key is found. And because Elsana cleared all of the blizzard, we can light the sconces and kill Flexal Sentry, but of course cheesing him tastefully in this door right here. Garrison Key acquired. And now we have access to King's Pets, which I know this is going to be the unpopular opinion, and you're probably not going to believe me. There's been plenty of people, actually 50% or more of the people I have told this don't believe me, but that's my favorite boss in the game. It is easily one of the worst areas, I do agree, and the arena is nothing special. But King's Pets, Lud and Zalin are the best fight in the game for me personally, because I like Ava a lot, but Ava just needs that extra enemy in the fight, you know, it needs the extra cat. Farming a nice 230,000 off Giant Lord real quick again, with Bonfire Ascetics acquired within his arena. Super nice, and I decided to buy myself a new pair of pants because I was like, we haven't treated Curse Bro. I was gonna close the door to put them on, but I'm like, you know what? We've just beaten most of the game. Let's be confident in ourselves and put the pants on outside. So as we change in the just blatant, obvious outdoors of Majula, you know, they don't really fit the way that I wanted them to, so I took them back off. Now we have Black Witch Donna that we have to go and take out to get the last Lois Knight free back in the DLC. She's trying to snipe me through the doorway over here, but very futile attempt. Not too good. And then this Rampart Golem's the last guy, almost slices my head. I get the door and I'm worried about him taking me out of the animation for the door, which he kinda does. You might think, hey, you got the door open for the Lois Knight, it counts, right? But you see how he's still sitting there? So I thought the same that you did. So I went right into the Ivory King fight and look what happened. 3 knights landed. I don't see the 4th knight, dude, and I believe I did get the other guy free. And if you count properly, 3 knights need to be rescued to make a total of 4 because you already are given one at the beginning. So that's not looking like the math is checking out. Then that guy backswings and takes me out right at the beginning of the fight. Okay, I'm pissed off now. Let's go back and get the other knight. He actually stood up this time. That's a signification that we're doing the right thing. And look at us just warp out at the same time, taking a kneel at the same time on either side of the chair, looking epic. Now, this is what it looks like when we're just seconds into the fight over here, taking out quite a few of the Charred Lois Knights right away, not getting killed on the backswing this time as the portal for Ivory King pops up. And there's only 2 remaining that we have to take out with 2 Lois Knights still active. There's still, as you can see, the 3rd portal open. And I'm just trying to be very careful, not goofing up at this point because I don't want to screw up the fight. It does tend to be the case that when you have more Lois Knights available, in my experience, it seems harder. It seems easier with 3 Lois Knights than 4, and I don't know if that's because they close the portals differently or whatever, but I was still fighting Lois Knights at the same time as Ivory King, and I remember when I was using the bow and being slower, it actually somehow worked out where there was none left any single time when I was practicing damage list. I don't know how this makes sense, but maybe I'm forgetting something here. I don't know how the equation works out to be the case where you somehow have overlap where there's still knights, but he's just closing the portal here at Ivory King's running amok. So it used to be the case that, and I don't know if it's actually different in Scholar, that you could freeze Ivory King in a portal as it's closing and one-shot him. That did not happen on this, even though it looked like it was going to be close right there. And now we have a Lois Knight helping us in the fight. So the aggro split up a little bit, something I'm not used to. And the damage that the Lois Knight's dealing to him is very small, so it doesn't matter too much. It might actually only be a hindrance because I might get stuck on the Lois Knight, like on that angle right there. So I step around his back. We both rush in while he's buffing. He sneaks in an extra hit. He gets 2. And he's still not even taken out. He's surviving quite a bit. Can we keep this guy alive? I wonder. We might be able to. Wow, that'd be crazy, actually. Don't get thrusted. No. Oh, he's still alive, though. He's cooking, man. He's got half health. Wow. Yo, we kept Oscar alive, dude. Oscar the Lois Knight is alive. Oh, wait, that's Alejandro. Never mind. Sorry, Oscar closed the portal. That's Alejandro. Man, that was wild. I didn't think he was going to live through that, but he did. We got Crown of the Ivory King. Feels kind of good to have a buddy tag along for that one, but just I would have rather 1v1'd him and not had to worry about the aggro as much. Now we have our Old Knight Hammer that we fully upgraded since with all the extra Cloan materials and stuff we've grabbed from consecutive Freya attempts so that we can pancake some reindeer in the wild. But first we actually have to take a good route through this area, which happens to be Frigid Outskirts, one of the most notoriously terrible areas there is. And I have Sunlight Blade ready if I want to get a little bit more saucy with it. All we really need though is just the hammer on a base level with the R2s. And you don't even need Stone Ring. You actually just need the hammer's R2 to get enough momentum to flatten them to the ground repeatedly. So I line up with this first house after the gathering area where you have the summoning stones. And as the blizzard comes back in, we just stand still each time to bait one of the reindeers to come to us. So usually they're going to be coming from the direction you're heading. And I'm trying to listen to the sound right there. We got one right ahead. We will have to roll the terrible attack that usually takes you out as you're running away from them. The notorious headbutt. And then 3 pancakes is enough to kill. So we just wait up till they're standing and easy enough. Now I just stand still and I wait. I don't move too much because if I move too many footsteps from here, another one will spawn. You repeat that process the whole time, going and lining up with the buildings until you make it to this one right here. And then once you make it to this final building, there is some enemies, so I throw a bunch of skulls. That Rampart Golem just goes and chills in the corner, and I didn't even do this properly because I'm kind of like just goofing off, throwing the skulls incorrectly, killing this guy, wasting too much time in between. He's turning back over to me while blocking, which might have resulted in him throwing his spear. But either way, Blizzard clears and then I make it, and I'm still alive somehow. But that's the gist of getting through that area. To spare you some of the boring details of waiting each Blizzard cycle, it just repeats itself over and over as you're lining up on the left side of the map with the houses. Then you pinch back in to where you would run around the right side that goes off to the cliff drop, but you're straight lined up with the bridge, and then you can go right in the fight. First off, we're fighting Lude. Same thing as Ava. There's nothing different here at all that we're doing. I like to get extra hits as they run away, but sometimes, like when you've just trekked that far to get into the arena, you don't feel like getting aggressive, especially when your health is so low that they could take you out very quickly. So on this type of run, I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to play it a little bit more like I would damageless. He's going for AoE, so we back up. And then get a running attack followed up with as much as we can on the transition here. He jumps away. Now, this is where we would have already had him dead, but nonetheless, we circle back in. I miss one other attack on his arm because it's just too small. And I get him in the knee right as his brother comes in here. Crazy. So that was a really nice fadeaway, like at the same time as the second one joins, but we could have had him on 2 separate occasions, either dead right away or overlapping, but not being dangerous while overlapping. That was like a little bit too close for comfort. And now the goal is mainly just to kind of deal with the fact that with Zalin particularly, he's going to use the health buff and regenerate health if we fight him too long. And with us reapplying our own buff, it would probably take letting him run away from us to have enough time, like right here. And it would have been perfect. I didn't react to it fast enough. At this point, we have the Rapier infused with lightning, so it's even better with Sunlight Blade stacked on top of it and the Sacred Oath. And there's no reason I wouldn't have been able to get both back off, closing off the fight. So I heavily recommend if you guys are doing this, try to squeeze those in and get really good at thinking of it as an attack opportunity or a healing opportunity. Same thing, because they're just animation timers, right? Some of them are longer. Some of them you can't move while doing at the same time, like a life gem, but pre-plan where you're going to stand, and then you can avoid something like this where now he's going to gain back a decent amount of health, and something crazy is going to happen here. You might be able to notice right now on the screen, but I did not, personally. There is something that's an indicator of what's about to happen. So we're hitting him in the leg right here. He goes for his follow-up swipe. I'm really just thinking of that attack being the biggest culprit of me dying. And also when he jumps in, rolling straight into his head, and then the lingering frames when he bites, also being very dangerous too. So trying to stay more frontal and not underneath him for too long unless I'm recovering underneath, then hitting the leg. And look what happens. The Rapier's at risk of breaking right there. So if I was checking my durability, I would have noticed that was coming up. Could have used repair powder. It must have been a carryover from not sitting at a bonfire for a while and just homeward boning and going into other areas. And it just snaps in half right there. So now we have almost no damage, and there's still a quarter of his health left as he's regaining health. Keep in mind, we're still just deep into this fight without getting any damage yet as well. Pretty crazy. This is something that the pressure level and the fact that the run back sucks so much is one of the craziest things in this entire run. But we switch off to Grand Lance calmly as we're doing it, and then I actually get so hyped up I just got to do a dance. That was easily one of the scariest moments, next to Ivory King fight being quite demanding. So a little bit of a spin right there. I do have even a little bit of like a running attack to celebrate. But Broken Rapier, no good after doing all that. Miyazaki was definitely trying to test me. Even though I know he didn't make this game, he came in with some quirks right there. He told Tanimura, dude, upload this code that I just made on this USB drive to screw him over. So Rock Shield Baldur's next. Pretty easy to just pain train him over and over and keep him subdued on the ground if you do the R2s from the Grand Lance. And this is something that would have dealt with every single NPC invader, including Forlorn, way better. So missed opportunity. I know someone probably thought of that at some point. Thinking of what I want to do for the Gang Squad, because we still had to go back and clean them up. And Dark Fog is definitely... It makes the most sense. Now, I said I was going to show every single fight and all the moments. As you can see, I got so greedy on that one right there. Even, dude, Alva was like, what the hell are you doing, dude? But yeah, as you see with the double speed here, this one, though I am going to show the whole fight, I'm going to speed it up because it is so boring. I can explain the basics of it, but there's only so much you can really say. Dark Fog essentially will activate as a cloud around the enemies. It's not guaranteed it will activate if they run out of the area, but you're trying to cast it in a local zone where the most of them group up at the same time, so you can get at least 2 of them at a time with the ticking from the Dark Fog. That's going to be 15 per second roughly, similar to a poison, toxic, whatever. You can also lock onto their character model and do it, but they're likely to have ran away, so I'm free aiming it when I can. I'm also using a method where I'm looping back into this little pool right here, so they have to fall off a ledge and get delayed. But the whole time I'm looping, I'm paying attention mainly to the dude that has the bow, because he's going to snipe me across the map. The stalagmites are the only thing that are actually going to stop his arrows from hitting me specifically. But other than that, though, he pulls out an S-Stock when you get close, so you want to keep him as the main target with the other ones as background. I even cast a Dark Fog behind me right there, which it seems to actually get Afflicted Grave Robber. And then with the Amber Herbs and the Twilight Herbs, those are items that are going to restock the Dark Fog castings I have. They're not going to fully replenish it, but if I pop enough of those, I'll slowly regain. Like I got 2 of them right there, and I can keep reusing them throughout the whole fight. This doesn't really matter if you have more than one casting or you have the herbs, but one or the other, because you're going to probably want more than just the 4 castings you start with. Maybe a ring that multiplies them. And oof, Alva off screen with the jump attack almost kills me right there as well. So lots of life gems being used throughout this. I'm also always actively trying to figure out times where I could use the bow, like right there, but Varg, he will block quite often, unfortunately. Grave Robber, who is pretty much Alva, he can kind of block, but he's the one that's going to take most of the beating with the bow specifically. And then, you know, sorry, no, not Grave Robber. Old Explorer, I think, is the one. Yeah, Grave Robber is the guy with the bow. So Grave Robber, he's going to be the most nimble, where he'll just roll away quite a bit. But I do actually get him with the bow here and there. If you get too overconfident with it, there's almost no way you're going to survive the other guys. So it's always just the 2 timers, and that's the nature of this. Once we get 2 of them down with the Dark Fog, then we can switch to just purely the bow and it's over. So Afflicted Grave Robber fades out. Oh, you know what, actually? Maybe it was the Explorer that I got with the bow. Yeah, I think I was right the first time. Grave Robber is certainly Alva. I was right. Yeah, so Explorer is in the background, still trying to get shots on me. Now it makes it so much easier. And I'm still delaying my bow shots as Varg drops down, so I can get him too. He's got the most defense, and he actually will pull out an Estus Flask and heal. I'm not familiar with the other ones doing this. He even tries to do jump attacks off the side, and right there you see he goes for his first swig. So it's kind of annoying in that regard, but once Explorer is done, it doesn't really matter what happens. It's pretty guaranteed we're going to get Varg. We'll just catch him off guard. We're not going to want to go melee on any of this, because these guys are individually on a one-on-one basis very hard. But when you multiply it to 3 and you have all these complementary movesets and everything, it's just absolutely stupid. It's not really even fun. So hence the double speed and the monotony. There we go. So Explorer goes down. And now we're just circling with Varg. He's got about 60% left, but again, very short-lived because I can now stagger him a little bit with the bow on the ledge before he actually comes down, then go around that other ledge and snipe him from above. He's not even going to be blocking most of the time either, because we'll catch him in situations where it's only focused on him, meaning he'll have to sprint at some point and he'll be open consecutively. And right there you see I feed most of the shots at the end, and even if he tried to sip again, boom, he's going to get killed while he does Estus or anything of the sort. Gotta lick the branch just to celebrate, and now we're into the Dark Lurker cave that I would consider the hardest. This is the worst situation I want to show you guys. I'm not going to show you everything of the Dark Lurker caves. In fact, I'll only show you the hardest and the easiest one, just so you know what we're dealing with. But that was the first situation right there where I'm like, yeah, I gotta take a break. But we took down the turtle guy by himself. I found a way to pull him on his own. This is something I struggled a lot with when I was practicing Damageless on stream, and you guys might have watched it. And now we can pull the Pyromancer by himself, who is still lingering down there. It's very often, if you go into this Dark Lurker cave in particular, you're going to pull both of them, and you're going to get a Forbidden Sun through the body of the other guy or around the corner of the cave. You'll be pushed into the back corner before being able to kill both of them, even with the bow maxed out, and also the best arrows. There's nothing you can do that I know of that's enough damage where it would matter. You'd have to do something ridiculous, because they're just so strong. And then it repeats itself again, where there's another 2 of those same guys again later, but it gives you a lot more runway to work with. The Wraiths, this scared me a little bit. He did a Soul Spear. Didn't take too much health, though, so I was like, okay, I'm chilling. But then he did it again. And I was like, okay, I gotta be a little bit more careful, because we don't want to just get pelted with those enough to die. Took out all of them, used the Flame Butterfly, which was the last in my inventory after doing this many times. And I kid you not, I actually lit this and then fell into a hole after on one of the attempts, which was not the hole that was right behind the big goblet. It was in the corner, and it looked like the exit portal. I'm just going to admit that now. So now that Ornifex is still open from Fang Key, we can go and get the Flame Butterfly in her room, like I mentioned earlier, and pick up some from her inventory. And it gives us like this nice extra backup supply. So if we screw up too many times in the caves, we have more Flame Butterflies. So I'm going to buy 2 more of those. I shouldn't need much more than 3 at the moment, with 2 caves left, and then we get more herbs so we can cast Dark Fog more than 1 time if I need it for some reason, or maybe to replenish other castings of sorts. Look at that, though. I got a torch and a spider still killed me. Broken game, dude. Broken game. Going into another portal over here, and again, this is the easiest one, which is in the Shaded Woods. Not much to show you. These guys were super easy to kill, so I'm just going to show you lighting it, and then we're right into Dark Lurker. Let's see how this first attempt went. So we're almost done. And we got a missile coming in. It's looking pretty chill, and then portal opens with the residual explosion from his little ping pong ball. And then this was the good attempt. So right away I'm casting Sacred Oath, and then I'm using Sunlight Blade after he swings or does some sort of attack recovery, because there's not enough time to do both. And very rarely, even if he does Forbidden Sun from far away, you're going to have a spread of the meteors, or even like the ping pong balls here, that are going to be safe enough to do a double casting right away. So I try to play it safe in that regard. You have no time you have to rush through in the beginning. You can rush after the second half of the fight, and it might pay off, but there's no point of going too fast until you get them to half health. You just want to make sure the buffs are actually applied, or reapplied if you lose them. Missiles go overhead, which is really nice, and again, every backhand with the laser thing, you just walk underneath. So you get about 2 free attacks on that, and I'm being very careful with centering on the Grand Lance. But on that break right there, you get a counter hit. Leo Ring comes in clutch, dude. And before either of them can activate their full swing, we actually kill them. But then look at that, dude. Look at that. They were dead, and the guy still killed me with an attack, but he was dead. I'm counting it. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says, that counts. Just the same as I did not kill gargoyles on this run, which is fine. It's admitted. I'm going to admit it in the beginning. I'm going to put it in the intro, don't worry. Yeah, we had to do Throne Watcher and Defender a second time, because I did, in fact, use the Bonfire Ascetic to respawn the Pursuers, or spawn the double Pursuer fight, which consequentially makes you have to redo the bosses before Eldia, even though I did them before. So here's a really quick snippet of NG plus Nishandra and Throne Watcher Defender. They went pretty smoothly. No problems there, because we have quite a lot of damage now. We even have a bit more damage than since when we last visited them too, especially with the infusion on the rapier and all that, with Sunlight Blade and such. Oh, now we got to face off against Eldia, and this is the first attempt on him. That did happen. I ran up to him and then he rebuffed and I counted the timer wrong. So here's round 2. Here's the actual attempt on Aldea. Charging up the big orb, go for as much as we possibly can. And you could get super greedy on this one because even when you're escaping, if it launches as your steps away, you can dodge it fairly easily. It's not that big of a radius. The one you don't want to get too greedy on is his teleports. That's it. Branches when running away, not that big of a deal. Get a good lead with jogging as he's actually casting the tendril into the ground and then just start sprinting, but have enough runway. And then jump if you actually don't have enough lead time based on how close they are to you. And that's pretty simple too. Small orbs, I do like to be locked on. And I do like to sprint well locked rather than actually free running. That's way more comfy. But see on this spawn in right here, I'm actually underdoing it because I don't want to die. So that was smarter. You could see that the timing was pretty well predicted. And we got one more big orb here, which is super lucky. It's the best attack because it gives you so much more room to deal with them. I even wanted to go in for an extra one there, which I probably should have, but got some nice spacing for when he teleports again. Central arena. We're healing back up, and then I'm not even picking up the soul yet. Let's go pick the soul up. There we go. He's buffing up now to his, what I would say is like final phase. Not much of a difference, just more fire. He thinks he's more cursed than I am, but there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And as the fire keeps building, he ports, tries to fake me out in the middle of the arena. This is where we could have won. Look at this. 1, 2, 3. Why do I not go for the last attack? Look at, dude, he's the, he punked me. He punked me, man. That was Ashton Kutcher in the closet with the camera crew right there. But again, small orbs locked on while free running, or not free running, but running locked on. Way better. And with that, we seal the victory. Some victory spins while licking the rapier, of course. Tastes like grape. You know what? I think Cursebro needs to brush his teeth again, but we'll wait till the next game he shows up in. Maybe he's going to be in Elden Ring. We'll see. Anyways, guys, that was basically Dark Souls 2 with half the amount of health that you can have as a total and no leveling health, no leveling equip load at all. Every boss in the game except for gargoyles, because I genuinely forgot they existed, and good riddance because they absolutely suck. We probably would have killed them very quickly, to be fair, so it's not like you missed anything super exciting. They're very minor, but 40 bosses. You know, still fun. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you want to see in the future. And if there's anything else that you think I should be doing on Dark Souls 2, definitely let me know. Make sure you're subbed if you're not already and notified for future videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.